Get cool stuff for what you were going to do anyway. Drink beer. With Buy Beer, Get Gear from Labatt, you can just snap a photo of your receipt and upload it to the website to rack up points for exclusive merch. Get points for every purchase, whether you're grabbing a pint on draft, a case for a party, or a tall boy at the stadium. Any size, any product, anywhere you buy Labatt. Buy beer, get gear. Sign up now at rewards.labattusa.com.
TKW FM and HD, Bridgeport, Syracuse, WTKV, Minetto, Oswego. We are live and gearing up for the Syracuse Orange. It's our Syracuse Haulers pregame tailgate with Gomez and Adam Terry. On TK99 and TK105, the flagship station of SU football.
Special Halloween edition of pregame tailgate broadcast. SU getting ready to host North Carolina coming up at the 7:30. Live from the world headquarters here in Armory Square, Adam Terry up on campus. Adam, how you doing? And I know a different broadcast venue for this show, mainly weather related.
Yeah, so there's not much I can tell you about what's going on in the quad right now, but I can tell you a little bit about what's going on. It looks like a good day for military appreciation. And the ROTC crew is out here making sure that they get the flag bearers ready to go. And there's also a large contingent across the field, I'm assuming some from Fort Drum, that will be running the flag out onto the field. So pretty cool to be inside. You know, I brought my nice jacket and was ready to go outside, but doesn't look like it's happening today.
No, and I think they've since also canceled the quad walk due to the weather, the wind, and rain that'll be on the way here.
But I do know, I think around 6:15 tonight, they have taken the costume walk and brought it inside to the Dome. So I'm assuming kind of in the vicinity of Myron Victory Court, something of that nature, where you can get in and have the ability to kind of walk around. And if your kids are all dressed up and you've done your trick-or-treating already, great opportunity to come in here and watch a football game.
Do you think a lot of kids will come dressed up here? I know that students will. I mean, it's a fun night, Halloween, to watch a college football game. But have you seen the costumes yet walking around there, Adam?
I've seen a couple as I kind of drove around campus and worked my way up to the parking lot. But I think it's going to be a little bit of a struggle. You've got Friday night lights for football in the local areas. I know for myself, I've got another iPad dialed up to watch my son play tonight. And then, I at least know for my daughter, like they're back home and she's going to go trick-or-treating and then go watch a football game. So I imagine in central and Western New York, that's kind of going to be the vibe, is especially with younger kids and the weather. I think the weather is a little bit worse out in that Rochester area opposed to what I walked out to today. So, yeah, we'll see.
And how was the ride in?
At the beginning of the season, this was a big-time game, and now it still is a big-time game in the sense of this is a must-win for both universities to go out here and get a win. But it was a little bit different at the beginning of the season when you looked at this, and you've got Bill Belichick playing Fran Brown on a Friday night with meaningful circumstances. But
sure,
there's still meaningful circumstances. You got to get a win and keep moving on, but it is not what we had initially anticipated. But the drive-in was good. My middle son decided to come out with me and his buddies, so they get to roam around the quad. They're at varsity right now, so I've been periodically checking on them, and then they're going to make their way up to the Dome around, let's see here, 5:15. I think the Dome will open about 5:30. So, we're just trying to be a dad and do the life of calling a football game.
Now, going back to Coach Belichick, in your time in the NFL, had you crossed paths with Coach Belichick at any point, any interactions with him as a player?
Well, I don't think I was a significant person to talk to on his regard, but we had played him a couple times. I just remember one game we had them regular season game. I believe it was a Monday night game down in Baltimore, and it was interesting because both defenses were going at that time, and they kind of bottled up Brady a little bit, and they were a little bit more animated on their sideline than I've historically seen. But it'll be interesting to see how he interacts through this game. It doesn't seem he brings that edge of what the expectation is, and that's not saying he's gone soft or anything. It's just a matter of he's not as visible on the sideline with as many of the broadcasts that I've seen. So it'll be interesting to see in person how he interacts, and if he's anything like one of his old employees, Greg Schiano, it'll be a fun sight to see.
I know earlier this week, Coach Fran, talking about in his various media appearances, talking about facing Bill Belichick tonight in the JMA Wireless Dome.
I'm honored to be able to coach at Syracuse University. So it really doesn't matter who we're about to go up and play against. I mean, it's an honor to be the head football coach here, to be able to go and compete against anybody. I'm thankful that I got a chance to know who Coach Belichick was and get to know him. And I'm happy I get the chance to compete against him, right? It's a football game, and it's a blessing that I get to do this. So I'm very thankful for the opportunity to compete this weekend.
It's, a very tight coaching community. A lot of these guys over the years just know each other from camps and working with each other. And where would Coach Fran have, because I didn't hear like the entire part of that when it was on, where would they have connected?
Well, I think the easiest suggestion would be that of down at Georgia when he was down there, and as he's working his way up the ranks too. I mean, he was under down at Temple. He's under a George DeLeon staff. George had big ties with them. I mean, Matt Patricia's the DC out at Ohio State right now, and his connection with George DeLeon gave him his first big time job. And then when Matt left, because I was here, he was my graduate assistant, and then he worked his way up through those ranks too. So, in the world of coaching, it's not always necessarily like, hey, I can point to that guy right there, and that's how I worked my way up through. And it's, sometimes it's the obscure guy that's been in there a long time, that has a lot of connections, he's well respected, and when he makes a phone call for you, or someone makes a phone call, i.e. a Kirby Smart or somebody of that nature, they pick up the phone, right? So I would venture to make that guess is, when you're on a national championship caliber team and you're producing guys into the NFL, especially at that secondary position, you're going to have an opportunity to have a conversation with a guy like Bill Belichick.
That is the voice of Adam Terry up inside the JMA Wireless Dome. You're right in the press box, because I can see behind you all the wires. That is where Paulie is trying to make things work.
That is a great Paulie Sibilia behind me.
Yes, it is. So you're inside the press box right now, and I think toward the end, because you'll have to sneak out at some point to grab your next show, Pregame, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
No, we're in here the rest of the day.
All right.
I think
we
went soft a little bit and brought everything inside. And when I said that to Matt Park, Matt was like, "Hey, I can get you a really long lead all the way out there." And I was like, "Well, it's a little bit nicer in here," because I don't even know how that transpired. I would assume it's the wind more so than anything else of blowing around, because we've been out there in some torrential downpours, and I've always hoped that we got brought back inside, but I think it's the wind. We'll do the when we get our covering blown off us out in the quad. I think that would be a hazard, and OSHA may not like that, and workers' comp, and all those different things in there. So,
well, it's Syracuse and North Carolina at the 7:30 at the JMA Wireless Dome. We'll take a break here, and we will be right back on the flagship station for Syracuse football, TK99 and TK105.
TK99 and TK105.
All righty then. Can you hear me right there, Adam?
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, because when I left, before I left earlier and I came back, Paulie had said that he thought, and I don't know what the arrangement is up there when you're inside, that you would have to go maybe like 5 or 10 minutes early to go to the next, whatever it is that you're doing pregame up there, but...
Yeah, because there was a possibility that we went outside.
Okay.
But when they canceled everything out on the quad, we are doing everything inside. So
Gotcha.
It gives me a little bit of a reprieve to stay inside.
That's good. Well, it's good then. As long as that's almost worse to. I agree with you. It's always great being outside, but then to be inside and then have to go back outside and then to come back inside again, that's even worse.
Yeah, I brought my nice jacket that I got a couple of years ago from JT over at Learfield, so it worked out. I was ready.
All right, we got a couple of, and I only have a few clips. One that I'll play, and they're all fairly short, but it's just Fran. It's a post game from the Georgia Tech game. There's also on the quarterback, situation.
Got it.
And then that kind of stuff. Nothing. And then one, I didn't play him this week, but I grabbed him just because I heard him on ESPN. But it's about the coaching situation at LSU and how the governor stepped in of Louisiana and said that the athletic director is not going to be the one who makes the decision on who the coach is going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, what the... So I have the governor and then Ed Orgeron, who was on one of the ESPN shows, saying it in his great Cajun accent that he'd welcome an opportunity to go at some capacity and come back and coach there.
Yeah, I love him. Edo he's phenomenal. Last time I saw him, or actually I saw him a couple other times. So the first time that I saw him out of the context of I was at the Senior Bowl and I was wearing a Syracuse jacket. And the first thing, what was it, Grimaldi's? What was up here, Grimaldi's?
Grimaldi's, yeah.
Yeah, so he was like, oh, yeah, Grimaldi's. Let's, It's like, okay, all I understood was Grimaldi's.
That's a funny, we could talk a little bit about that because, we used to have him on. He was one of our coaching segments that we had, like a call-in thing. What years would that have been about? I mean, we were still out in Bridgeport, and we moved downtown in 2001. So does that sound about right when he was at Syracuse?
When you were doing that game?
Well, when we were doing he was like every Tuesday we talked to Ed Orgeron. It was like a sponsored coaches call-in thing.
I mean, that had to be 90s.
Yeah, it must have been because we were still out in our Bridgeport facility.
Because he was only there for 2 years, 3 years, I think.
Yeah, he wasn't there long. Oh, here we go.
This is the Syracuse Holders pregame tailgate as we are closing in on kickoff for the Syracuse Orange. Here's Gomez and Adam Terry on TK99 and TK105.
Live from the world headquarters here in Armory Square, Adam Terry live from the JMA Wireless Dome in the press box. Getting ready for Syracuse and North Carolina at 7:30. Going back to last week, final thoughts. Adam, I'll play just a couple of the comments from Coach Fran Brown post-game after the Georgia Tech game.
Just keep fighting. Just be able to look adversity straight ahead. We just got to compete, keep competing. And coaches keep competing, players keep competing. I just got to get everybody locked in and be ready to go and play for the next game.
It's kind of hard, obviously, and every player and every coach has been in that situation at some point where just things are not going your way, and you're losing. In this case, kind of another lopsided loss. But the coach that's where they earn their keep right there in these moments and these times, keeping guys motivated.
Yeah, I mean, the hardest part about that is just, everybody's got the outside pressures. As a coach, you're trying to rally everybody inside the locker room, but it's when they step outside the locker room that's where they start to hear the voices of their dad or their aunt or their eighth cousin removed who just has an opinion on what's going on. So I think the kids that he's recruited over the period of time are kids with a lot of character and are in it. And now for Fran, right, like he has to make a change in order to make sure that everybody stays in it. And, not only do you stay in it, but now you have an opportunity that if this is the correction and it's appropriate, opposed to the 0-4 start with Ricky, if we can get some type of momentum and move the football down the field, might be a different scenario for us.
Earlier in the week, and I don't have the clip here, but Voice of the Orange, Matt Parkin, your broadcast partner, making the comparison to baseball that it's like from here out, it's like a bullpen game, trying to find the right combination, the right pitcher, whatever you got to do to win the game, and that was his comparison to it with the quarterback situation up at the Dome.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hard part, is going in there and having a guy that is capable of doing it, but then putting out the performance when they're called upon. That's why I always wanted to be a bullpen catcher, right? So you really didn't do anything, right? You just sat back there, and every once in a while you had to get geared up for the guy that was actually going in the game. But, I think when you're looking at it, the ability for a guy to go in and turn it on, what you're looking for in the DNA of somebody like that is going to be, who's the competitor? How do they get it done? And I think that's what Fran is kind of looking at for a quarterback position, because everybody else, I think when you look at it, everybody else has been good. But when you're calling on your third, your fourth, or whoever this is coming into the game, you've got to be great, right? So a lot of these guys have to step it up on the outside, and sometimes they do that for their buddy. So, it'll be interesting in this game to see what it is. The luxury that Syracuse has right now is the UNC quarterback situation is probably just as bad, if not worse.
What are they going through there with the coach Belichick and the Tar Heels?
Yeah, not necessarily going through. It's just the reality of what they've started with and where they are right now is not the caliber of play that they want out of that position, especially in a Bill Belichick-led team that when you look at the quarterback position, he's always had, a great trigger puller on it, and now they're starting to get a little bit better. The defense is starting to come on, which will allow the offense to get a little bit better for them. But, I think our defense has to show up, and our skill positions have to show up in order for us to move the ball up and down the field and give us a real good shot to be not only in the game, but kind of dominate in a game like this. And this is also with UNC coming off of that tight game against Virginia last week.
Obviously, Coach Fran and the team spoiled a bit last year with Kyle McCord, able to play at the level that he played all season long, and the way Steve Angeli started the season before the injury. This week, Coach Fran talking about that, and Ricky being put in a position of trying to live up to the standard that those guys were playing at.
I don't know. It's a lot that has to go on to be where Kyle was at, and the things that Steve did. If you look at where Steve was at, we were 3-1. We beat probably one of the biggest games in Syracuse history. Was one down at Clemson, and then it kind of went from the highest of the high to all of a sudden, right? So I think he has a long way to go to get to that point. You hope that it could happen this week or ever. We're gonna compete though when it comes to quarterback right now.
Still up in the air. And that was earlier in the week, and obviously you would certainly hope that for Ricky or whoever is going to be taking snaps tonight and the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think, I don't want to necessarily say the Ricky Collins ships has moved on, but I think for the next 4 games, I think we've talked about Filardi, we've talked about Carney, is it going to be a dual threat type thing where it's a two-headed monster coming at you until somebody can pull away? That might be the case today where, you have a pitch count or a snap count of trying to get guys going and then see who clicks the most, right? I think, when you're in a team setting, it's really going to be who the guys rally around. And in a situation like this, the guys are going to rally around the guy that makes them look good and can move the football down the field. So it's a tough hand to be dealt, because you started the season and you saw the progress from Angeli, and now he's a distant reminder of what was, and now he's prepping for next year. And then the Ricky Collins situation where it was very underwhelming, but that's not to say that he didn't go out there and compete his tail off. It just didn't work at this level or or for Syracuse. And now you're kind of going down and, you're trying to catch lightning in a bottle. And lightning in a bottle is for guys who really don't get a whole lot of snaps. So hopefully there is a situation where this is a spark, and once that spark occurs, can it be a cascading effect, and it just kind of takes off for the rest of the season. Now, this is kind of the slate that you want. Realistically, you should probably go 2-2 with just Jimmys and Joes against each other, but that's why you have to spot the game up. And if you can get one here tonight and, have some confidence behind it, then, who knows? Who knows? Like we've seen some crazy things. And if you leave this slate at 3-1 instead of 2-2, you're in a bowl game. And that's what you're fighting for, is a situation like that where you've shown your resilience as a team, you've shown your character as an individual, and then, you've believed in what has been told to you within the locker room, and now you've just got to make that next jump. So I don't know. I'm excited about it, but we'll know probably by halftime what we have in, whether that's a Filardi, a Carney, a Beelan, or whoever's thrown into the mix.
I'm looking on Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter, but I've confirmed that the Hills West alum Joseph Filardi will start at quarterback tonight for the Orange, according to this particular media report on Twitter. And you know as well as I do, Adam, you can't put anything on the internet if it's not true.
Yeah, okay. That's a good one. Yeah. No, I think there's going to be an opportunity in there for him. I've heard that name floated around as well as you guys have, and it'll be interesting to see if he is the guy that's running out with the first team offense. I think there still could be a scenario where there's two guys in there, and if it all hits the fan, who knows? Maybe you see Ricky Collins again, or you see that next drop into the next layer. So, you're just trying to find something, trying to find a spark, and could come from one of the more unlikely places, and a guy like Filardi, who is a lacrosse kid that had some success in high school, who can distribute the ball pretty well, but that's at a different level, right? So the one thing that you see a lot of, just as far as like lacrosse, they're all playing against each other at a high level in a lot of these summer tournaments, so you kind of get a pretty good gauge of who they are and what they're capable of. Football, you can be the best 7-on-7 guys, but when you get a guy running down on you who's a defensive end who's going to try to bury you in the turf and trying to find some relics in the old Archibald Stadium 20 feet down, that's a difference one. So it'll be good. I think the competition, the competitor, who these individuals are, is going to show, and they're young, right? So put your seatbelt on, buckle up, and hopefully you don't see a little car accident here, but excited, right? It's another opportunity in the Dome for this team to come out and play. And the one thing that we keep glazing over a little bit is, if we can keep this defense off the field, I think it's starting to turn into a pretty good one. And then you look at the addition of a guy like Don Brown, and I know Fran and Elijah Robinson have wanted to get a little bit more aggressive, and now you've got a mad scientist who's in the meetings, being able to, he's not dictating everything, but the great thing about these analysts or these consultants, what it allows for is, what do you want me to look at? How do you want me to do this? And, hey, on third down, we're third and medium, we need to dial this up. Okay, great. That's my project for the week. This is how we go about it. And, I will say, as you see on the offense, a guy like Josh Gaddis coming in, and you saw Coyle, and now you see Don Brown. Like, the cool part about this is Fran's not only recruiting, right? He's also bringing in great coaches who, it's how I believe it is, like that Moneyball scenario where David Justice is in there and he's like, well, so-and-so is paying all your salary, so we don't have to pay you $1. Those kind of things where all these buyouts in college coaching is there. So now that affords them the opportunity to go in and take a lesser dollar amount and really help out some of these younger up and coming coaches And when you see that, like, that's out of the Georgia playbook of being able to get a guy in that's willing to give you information. And I love it. I mean, the ability for Fran to recruit, but not only just recruit players, it's also going out and get some guys that are towards the end of their tenure that can give a lot of wisdom really quick. And that's exciting too. So, this whole thing over the last 5 games is we need to find a quarterback, and just drawing light to a couple bright spots that I see as I walk around and I talk to people. And I talk to people outside of Syracuse and in, whether that's college or in the NFL, like, those are pretty impressive things that you can get done. Now we just have to continue to go down the laundry list of guys that we have on the field or on the roster to can we find a quarterback for the rest of the year?
That is the voice of Adam Terry in the press box at JMA Wireless Stadium, getting ready for the game tonight at Syracuse hosting North Carolina. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back here on the flagship station for Syracuse football, TK99 and TK105.
TK99.
Got to be true, Adam. It's on the internet.
We're going to go to 15 with them.
Yeah.
So we can clear
Oh, okay. I got you.
It's actually kind of, but he doesn't say it.
Let's see here. A bit of a back into the stream chat. I go back and forth here. Anything special in and around the game tonight, Adam, for Halloween? I know it was the military appreciation, and it's an orange out, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that, one of the things that they had was for the kids to be able to do their own, like, quad walk with costumes, right? So I think that was the bigger thing surrounding it. And then, as we'll see how the student section fills up, but I imagine there's going to be costumes abound in there. And Matt came dressed up in his outfit. So
did he? Okay, good.
Yeah. So. That's all I really know. And then, let's put toe to leather and let's get this thing rocking.
Right, well, sure, that's what he's saying. And by the way, all things can be true. Pretty confident that we on this roster at the end of the half of the season.
No, is it open? It's 5 o'clock and 7. Is it open an hour and a half before kickoff? The dome?
90 minutes, yeah.
Oh, so all right, so that's another hour really before the doors open up.
Well, I shouldn't say that because they are, yeah. It's a good question. I thought it was earlier than that.
Man, downtown, it's look out the window here at the station, and there's some trees on a sidewalk, and then across the way, it's blowing pretty good.
Yeah.
I haven't asked because I don't.
Oh, there's Super Cat 610. And one of the stream chat messages. I'll be honest with you. Like sometimes I don't know like who's doing which shows. I'll be honest with you. If you gave me a quiz on like who's doing what pregame or postgame or interview segment, I'd flunk. And I work here. Or another tough one is like if there's a New York Yankee game on the same time as a Syracuse football game and a preseason SU basketball game, where are they all going to air? I don't know. I work here. I'd flunk that quiz. Here we go.
Cuse Hauler's pregame tailgate with Gomez and Adam Terry on TK99 and TK105, the flagship station of SU football.
Live here from the World Headquarters in Armory Square, and Adam Terry live from the GameDay Wireless Dome, getting set for that 7:30 kickoff with Syracuse hosting Coach Bill Belichick and the North Carolina Tar Heels. And Adam, earlier, maybe it was before we started, but we were chatting a little bit about college football in general and some of the prime coaching openings that are available right now. There's some high-profile guys that were let go at Florida and Penn State and LSU, halfway through the season. And one of the big gigs out there available at LSU, and former assistant coach for Syracuse. And you obviously know Coach Ed Orgeron well. But early on, like when we started doing things with SU football, Coach O was one of the guys that we had on every week. Like it was like, a sponsored segment every, Monday morning we talked to Coach Orgeron. And I love talking to the guy.
Yeah, I've seen him a couple times, but, we were talking off air, and I was down at the Senior Bowl, and I was helping out Jim Nagy, who's now the GM for Oklahoma. And, I was walking on the field with a Syracuse shirt on, and he was like, oh, okay, yeah. And, deep Creole. And he's like, oh, yeah, no, Grimaldi's. Yeah, we got to go eat there. When you're up there, like, I'll call you. We'll go eat there. And I was like, I don't know if it's still open. Maybe it is. Who knows? But, I just think, there's very fond memories for him. And when you talk to him about his experience here with Coach P, and, I think he's very transparent with it. I think he talked about it, the New York State Coaches Association. Coach P saved his life, got him back on the right track, and, kept him rolling into the coach that he was, that you've seen winning those national titles. So I think Syracuse definitely holds a warm, near and dear place to him, but also, too, the guidance of a coach like Paul Pasqualoni also helped him personally as well.
Well, Coach O was on ESPN earlier this week on the ESPN show Unsportsmanlike, being asked about any possibility of returning in some capacity to the staff at LSU.
Do you want to be the next LSU head coach?
Oh, I'd love to. You kidding me? I'm one phone call away. Hey, I just got to get in my truck. I'll be back. I could be there today.
If someone specifically became the head coach, would you be willing to be his assistant? And that someone is someone you've been close with and worked with, Lane Kiffin. Would you ever go back to be an assistant?
Yeah, I consider it. I love LSU. I still got my home in Baton Rouge. I love when I coached with Coach Miles, being the defensive line coach. I love the Tigers, and I'm getting back to coaching for sure. I consider it, no doubt.
No doubt. It's an enthusiastic guy. I love hearing it. Even though I got to decipher maybe every third or fourth word, but I know pretty much what he's talking about.
Yeah, that's a pretty impressive. How do I want to put it? Stamp of approval for a guy like Lane Kiffin. If you've got a guy like Ed Orgeron, who is probably his name will be up there, and a couple, may not be in the top tier, but definitely in the top 10 of some organizations, just because he's proven. And now you're looking at a situation where he's endorsing another guy that he holds in high regard. So you'd be getting a couple different guys that could come out on that staff. So look, I think. This coaching carousel is wide open with as many jobs that are out there right now. And, even to the extent of hearing Fran's name thrown around, probably not in that top 5, maybe towards the bottom of a top 10. But, you never know what's going to occur and how that's going to look. But it's a wild ride. It's going to be a wild ride with some of these coaches and how they go, and buyouts. Like, buyouts right now are the biggest thing that I see for college coaching right now, that you may want to go to a big place and you get this big buyout for you, but it's also, if you're making the jump, And this was always the conversations with guys that were in the Baltimore Ravens organization in the scouting and the managerial position was, you want to go to a great place that is willing to allocate funds to you and allow you the ability to grow and not just put you on a chopping block 2 years in. So that's the tough one, is like, you want to go and you want to make sure you have everything prepared, everybody ready. So when you go in there, you can hit the ground running. And it seems as though some of these schools keep coming up every 3 years, and that doesn't necessarily put a coach in a great spot if that's the case. Yeah, you walk out with a lot of money in your pocket, but pretty soon some of that is going to be circumvented in order to get that done, right? Like something's going to occur because no state institution, which is the state entity, is going to want to be paying out $50 million on buyouts.
And that obviously is what happened at the Louisiana State University, so much so that the governor, Jeff Landry, got involved in it earlier this week. And I don't call it heated, but it was pretty spirited, talking about the fact that they had to pay out as a state institution and who would be involved in the hiring process here.
This is a pattern. The guy that's here now that wrote that contract cost Texas A&M $70-something million. Right now, we got a $53 million liability. We are not doing that again. And you know what? I believe we're going to pick a coach, and we're going to make sure that that coach is successful, and we're going to make sure that he's compensated properly, and we're going to put metrics on it, because I'm tired of rewarding failure in this country and then leaving the taxpayers on the foot, to foot the bill. So, yeah, I absolutely.
Selecting the next coach.
Who's that?
Scott Woodward.
No. I can tell you right now, Scott Woodward is not selecting the next coach.
So there's the governor of Louisiana saying the athletic director would not be selecting the next head coach of LSU.
Yeah. Probably not the guy to be doing it, but I mean, if you want to put KPIs behind everything, I'd love to put some KPIs on him as well to see what he gets done within his state. So, right. It's one of those where you can go out there and you can say whatever you want to say and talk out both sides of your mouth. But at the end of the day, you've got to go in, you've got to be relevant, and who wants to go into it? Okay, so now you're getting that pushback. Who wants that job, right? Like,
yeah,
you might go there and say, hey, this is the greatest thing ever, and then all of a sudden you start to get into it and you're like, hey, okay, I can't work with this, or I don't want to work with that, and then you're moving forward. So for the longest time it was just everything was pretty clear cut and cookie cut, and Jimmy Sexton ran the world as far as college coaching went, and he was the high profile guy. But now if everybody else wants to throw their hat in the ring and get into it, then it'll be interesting. It'll definitely be interesting, to say the least.
That is the voice of Adam Terry. It's Syracuse getting ready to kick off against North Carolina. It's a 7:30 kickoff. We'll take a break here, and we'll be right back on the flagship station for Syracuse football, TK99 and TK105.
TK99 and TK.
Yeah, he's fired up, man. Yeah. And then, like you said, we're going to give everything aren't they already giving them everything they need to be successful at LSU?
Who knows? We'll see. See what happens, right? Like, if you want to come out and you want to talk like that, like, it might knock your organization down a peg. It's just like different. I mean, if that's where the level is going to, it's going to be no different than a situation where you're going in with an owner in the NFL ranks. Like, now you're going to, see what the governor is going to allow and what he's not going to allow. So, who knows? All the recruits are starting to fill in here, so this is interesting. I don't know. You tell me. I think we got one more spot.
Oh, I thought this should be it for you.
Oh, okay.
That's Gomez.
Gomez.
Yes.
Hey, am I coming back on or am I off?
There's one more, but this is what Paulie had mentioned to me before that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, well, it was to break down the equipment, so that was that was the only difference.
There's like
that's
20
what I didn't
seconds.
understand.
Oh, okay, so
let's hit it. No, I'm
okay,
good. I'm
we'll
good.
do a quick. Okay.
Yeah.
CNY from Syracuse to Rochester and beyond. We've got the selection, the service, and the savings because we sell for less. So come experience the difference today. Auburn Hyundai, where value drives everything we do.
TK99 and TK105, Syracuse's classic rock. It's almost game time. Gomez and Adam Terry are live with our Syracuse Haulers pregame tailgate on TK99 and TK105, the flagship station of SU football.
We are live here from the world headquarters in Armory Square downtown, and Adam Terry live from the JMA Wireless Dome, getting ready for that 7:30 kickoff. During the break, Adam, you notice the recruits starting to file in and take their spots. How many recruits do you see who are going to be at the game here tonight?
Well, that's always an interesting perspective, too, because you look at it and you might see like 5 guys, but only one of them are actually being recruited in order to come in here. So, I would probably venture to guess here there's probably about 150 on the sideline. So that's not recruits, but that's, moms and dads and coaches and, their left guard who's going to go play at Cortland, So, it's interesting. It's interesting to see, but it's great to see. And a lot of the recruits that you don't want to see is because they are playing on Friday nights and they are playing deeper into the season. So some of these guys will be here, and then some of these guys won't be.
I know early, and I've heard Coach Fran talk about this a couple of times and just kind of more mentioned in the context of answers to questions, but getting texts during the season, and every coach goes through this, I'm sure, from parents. If their son is not seeing the playing time that he thought he was going to, or they think that they should be playing. How big of a distraction is that for Coach Fran, for any college coach for that matter, to have to deal with the parents at that level as much as it is with the players and trying to manage the guys on the team?
Well, I would die internally. Like, I'd probably leave the organization if Mike or Cindy Terry made a phone call to the head coach. And I guess times are a little bit different, and you can put your opinions out on social media if you're a family or family member. But I mean, the reality is as a player, you got to produce, right? So if you're producing, you might not be the starter, but within this framework and this coaching staff, if you start to produce in practice, it seems as though they're going to give you an opportunity to get out on the field. And then whether or not you can capture that momentum that you have from practice going out onto the field. So it's definitely an interesting perspective that mom or dad would give him a text or a call. I would die if that was the case. And back then with Coach P, because I don't even know what George DeLeon would have said or done to me regarding that. I was first team all Big East, and he told me I was awful. So who knows what he would have said back then to me, going into my senior year. So that's interesting.
Well, on to the task at hand. North Carolina coming up, 7:30 kickoff. Coach Fran from earlier in the week on what the guys need to do to come out with a win tonight.
We got to put up points. We got to play complimentary football early. We had opportunities to go and score on the first drive. We shot ourselves in the foot. Can't have dumb penalties, right? We don't get like a lot of penalties, but we got dumb penalties at the wrong time. Right, and it's like those things. And then from a coaching perspective, we got to put the players in the right positions to be able to succeed and make plays.
And pretty much it in a nutshell. He did that in about 20 seconds, but pretty much dead on.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's complementary football, and it's all 3 phases. It's offense, defense, and special teams. They've had bright spots throughout the year. Now it's just start putting it together. And then the biggest thing he talks about is penalties. You have to eliminate pre-snap penalties, whether that's alignment or whether that is jumping off sides, those have to be thrown out. We saw last night with Mike McDaniel and Miami Dolphins, it's 4th and 1, the guy jumps off sides. I personally wouldn't call it an offsides because I'm always a homer for the offensive lineman, but those happen, and then you also have to stay manageable down in distance for your offense. And a struggling offense, manageable down in distance, is going to lead you to a point where you can start to put up points up on the board. And that's the nutshell of it. And especially in this one, to me, tonight, you got to win the time of possession. You win the time of possession, that just means that defense is not out on the field as much. And that is a very, very simplistic way of creating a recipe for success.
We've got the Upstate Imports starting lineup. Any surprises tonight other than who we will see at the quarterback spot coming out tonight? But any that you're aware of tonight, Adam?
Well, yes and no, right? Like I'm still waiting to see people run out and see who warms up. But, yeah, I mean, that's the one that's got the spotlight on it, is who's going to be at that quarterback position when you run out for the first series. So if I find out who it is, I'll shoot you a text.
Okay. Okay. Now, how about any guys that right now that aren't flat out available, that won't be playing, injured, just
I think those are the commonplace ones. And now with the ACC and what you have to do, designating, how much they practice, so on and so forth, I think that nobody really jumping off the page that you would say, oh yeah, no, that surprises me.
Well, that is Adam Terry again, North Carolina, coming to the Dome here tonight. It's a 7:30 kickoff. Anybody in costume as of yet?
Yeah, I mean, Matt and I are in costume. We're pretending that we're broadcasters.
Good.
So we're trying our best. I mean, we've been doing it for a couple years now, and I think this might be our greatest costume ever.
Good for you. So, and being a Friday night Halloween game, press box meal tonight, best bet would be, or do you already know it because you're up there already?
I don't know it. I mean, I'm itching to see what that pregame meal might be up there. I'm hoping right now that it's burgers and dogs, right? Like I'm not overreaching on that one. So I think maybe burgers and dogs, some salad, and we'll go from there.
Adam, have a great call. You and Voice of the Orange, Matt Park, and we will talk to you again. I guess the next time after this for a home game won't be till the Saturday after Thanksgiving.
The last game of the year. Hopefully it's not the last. Well, actually, hopefully it is the last game of the year, because then hopefully you're in a situation where you're playing in January. I don't think that'll necessarily be the case. So the last home game of the year, I'll accept that. And then we'll know at that point in time kind of where we sit, whether or not we have an opportunity to go play in a bowl.
Adam, thanks. Go Orange, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Sounds good, man.
TK99.
All righty, sir. Have a good call there.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye.
I couldn't tell if you were done or not.
Oh, yep. Yeah, I'm just cleaning up my mess here for you.
So I just wanted to make sure you're done before I...
And the way that Haynes King can dictate things, and he just had his way against Syracuse all game long, and was unfortunate to see that giving up 40-plus points following such a strong effort against Pittsburgh. And you're hoping that being back home and against an offense that has really struggled, the worst offense Syracuse has probably played in 4 or 5 games, that the defense can get themselves back to what we saw against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you're definitely hoping that the defense can start to tighten things up. Syracuse with breaking news as soon as our broadcast launched. We'll start Joe Filardi, true freshman at quarterback, buried on the depth chart, Mike. This was quite the news to get as soon as we were launching the show.
Right, threw for over 3,000 yards and 40-plus touchdowns during his senior year of high school. Obviously, that is Long Island area high schools and not power conference football against one of the best defensive minds in football history. But at the same time, that defensive mind doesn't have any tape on him at all in this offense.
That's true.
If you're going to watch tape on Joe Filardi, you have to go back to his high school days, and I got to assume that that's not really going to be all that helpful. If you're preparing for Syracuse, you're just kind of looking at their offense and their schemes and preparing for that, as opposed to the individual player that you don't really know much about. But yeah, the Syracuse had to do something. You're hoping this gives you a spark and that you can get better production from the quarterback position, because it certainly has been the number one issue the last 4 weeks.
Call me crazy, Mike. Maybe I'm incredibly naive. Maybe it's my 22 years of age and I haven't seen enough football and been disappointed enough times yet. But I'm excited to see what Joe Filardi's got. And I think it roots from the fact that we knew what we were getting from the other quarterbacks on this roster. Not Jakari Williams. I still stand by. I would like to see him in a game. Clearly, there's a reason he hasn't played in a game to this point. But I'm excited at the prospect of having a new arm in there that we have not seen. What if this kid just goes in there and tears it up on a Friday night in the Dome? I mean, shoot, the narrative could change these last handful of games pretty quickly, because we did say last week it feels like they're a quarterback away.
It feels like that they are an injured starting quarterback away from being either already clinched bowl eligibility or playing for that tonight.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you figure they probably still lose the Duke game because of how the defense just couldn't do anything against Duke's offense, and they still lose the game against Georgia Tech, they're sitting at 5-3 at this point, looking to clinch bowl eligibility. And then you got 2 shots at a massive upset, and then another shot against Boston College to get yourself to 7 regular season wins. And you'd feel pretty good about that, the way that this season has gone. And with the injury at quarterback, you were hoping that bringing in a guy like Ricky, who is going to be your backup, would allow you to absorb that injury. It clearly hasn't been the case, but they need a spark. We don't know. Sometimes the unknown can be what gets you excited, right? It's like, well, let's see what this kid has. Fran Brown has spoken glowingly of him in the limited comments that he's made about him. So we'll see what happens. He's certainly extremely athletic, comes from a very athletic family, and he's going to have an opportunity to make a statement here in front of the Dome crowd tonight.
So much more to unpack as we get you geared up for Syracuse and North Carolina in the Dome. We're hanging out at Shaughnessy's Irish Pub right up until kickoff, right here on Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse. You can also join us post-game. We'll have your post-game coverage. We'll have Fran Brown's press conference live. We'll take callers. We'll answer any questions after the game as well. That's right here. It's Cuse Sports Talk. It's ESPN Syracuse, and it's game day between Carolina and the Cuse in the Dome.
Almost everyone in response to that news.
What?
Almost everyone in response to that news. Great. I can't wait to see this. And then randomly, what the hell? It's always works.
Matt, did Paul tell you about the audio clip we have ready to go? Okay, cool. I wasn't sure if you knew about it, so I didn't tee it up. Sweet. All right, we'll run that then in this next one. I'll just tee it up. Appreciate you. We appreciate it, man. Thank you. Oh, we can pull up the chat now.
What's up, chat?
What up, chat? Super Cat in the house.
Is Jen there? Jen's got to be there.
I'm sure they're pulling up.
Jen's always there. Does it tell you who's actually there, or just the count?
I don't think you can see who's actually there.
Jen, blink 3 times if you can hear us.
What's up?
Yeah.
Thanks, Jim.
I briefly took a glance up there, saw there was a baseball game on, and went, wait, is the World Series starting already?
Yeah, what are they replaying?
Yeah, some old Yankees game.
Game day in the Cuse, Friday Night Heat. Giovanni Heater alongside Mike McAllister with you as we get you set and ready on All Hallows Eve for Syracuse and North Carolina up in the Dome. We launched the show an hour ago with breaking news. Syracuse making a change at its starting quarterback position. It'll be the true freshman out of Long Island, Joe Filardi, under center tonight. The Ricky Collins era officially seems like it's coming to a close in Central New York here, Mike. But an exciting prospect, nevertheless, to see a new gunslinger in there at QB.
A 4-star lacrosse prospect who was rated the number 26 player overall in his recruiting class, and he's starting for the football team before the lacrosse team. It's pure insanity.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But at the same time, as we said, they need to do something because it just wasn't working. And you give 4 games, and including a bye week in there and everything else, to get things going, and it just didn't seem like it was going to click for Ricky Collins and this offense this season. And so that's why you make a change now, because you need to do something else to get them going back to what they were early in the season if you don't want to end the season on an 8-game losing streak which just would be absolutely awful, and I don't think fair to the seniors that are on this team playing their last football in an orange uniform.
We want to thank the ESPN Syracuse crowd for hanging out with us, as always, on 97.7, 100.1 FM, and we want to welcome in our Cuse Sports Talk crowd if you're joining us on Twitch or if you're joining us on YouTube. So glad to be hanging out with you and getting you ready for North Carolina and Syracuse on a Friday night under the lights up in the JMA Dome. Cuse and Carolina, Mike, there's been some fun battles between these two in recent times since the Orange have joined the ACC. The one that always comes to mind for me is the year Syracuse won 10 games in 2018. It was Eric Dungy's senior campaign. Actually, one of the only games he wasn't playing too hot in. Syracuse ends up making the decision to bench him. Dino Babers puts in Tommy DeVito, who was the four-star freshman that everyone was so excited about. DeVito goes out there, saves the day, right? Hits Nykeem Johnson on the big go ball down the sideline for the touchdown, then ends up making another touchdown happen. They go to overtime, wins the game for him. Played a huge role in getting that team to 10 wins because that was such a hinge game in that season at that point. Remember, they had come off the heels of losing at Clemson in a heartbreaker where they led most of the game, dropped it in the fourth quarter. You think about what could have been. Cuse was 4-0 going into that game. Then they go to Pittsburgh. They lost to Pittsburgh that year. Back-to-back losses. Can they bounce back in the Dome against Carolina? Weren't playing their best ball. DeVito comes in, and he was Superman.
Tommy Cutlets before he was Tommy Cutlets, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah, to your point, you look back at that season as a whole, and they went 10-3 after the bowl game. But two of their three losses, they had leads in the fourth quarter. That Clemson game and that Pittsburgh game, they were those two games away from, they would have been in the ACC championship game because they would have been undefeated in conference play. Their other loss was to Notre Dame, which wouldn't have counted against them in ACC play. And you think about Fran Brown talking about last year, Syracuse was 2 plays away from being in the conversation for the playoff. They legitimately were that year as well. And so, you know, the fact that he was able to come in that spot, and then I remember the talk the next week was, do you now make the permanent change to go to Tommy DeVito and bench Eric Dungy for the rest of the year? Thankfully, they did not make that decision and let Dungy go back out there. But credit to DeVito for coming in and playing the way that he did to lead them to victory. Credit for Eric Dungy for handling that like a professional, because it would have been very easy to be ticked off and upset being benched when you've been the starter and had Syracuse rolling. It was just, like you said, a hinge game in that season. And, you know, it'll be interesting to see this year if Syracuse putting in a new quarterback yields similar results.
The Orange are 3-4 all time against the Tar Heels, 1-2 inside the Dome. That lone win, the one in overtime that we're talking about back in 2018. Teams haven't played each other since 2023. That was down in Chapel Hill. A bully game for North Carolina. Took down Syracuse 40-7. Now, remember they opened the COVID season in Chapel Hill against Carolina as well. That was a 31-6 loss for the Cuse. So that double overtime thriller, the last win for Syracuse. And that's it for playing in the ACC. Those 3 games. Before that, it was 2003, a win for the Cuse in Chapel Hill, and they won in Chapel Hill in 1995 as well.
I think that 2023 team was Drake May was their quarterback, if I remember correctly.
That would make sense.
So, who's now tearing it up in the NFL for the New England Patriots. It tells you, I mean, that team was extremely talented, but that was a tough spot for Syracuse at that time, no question. But they've had better luck and have had closer contests when they've had them in the Dome.
All right, Mike, let's go ahead and react to this. We just talked about Joe Filardi being the starting quarterback for Syracuse heading into today's game. News that broke as we were going on the air, right about 4:30 in the afternoon today. This is what earlier in the week, right here on Cuse Sports Talk, Fran Brown had to say about the quarterback conversation heading into the Carolina game. Here's Coach.
We won't just see rookie guys. I'm gonna always just do what we feel is best for us to get the best opportunity of winning.
We got to do everything we can to be able to go out and try to win this football game on Friday. So you'll definitely see that. I don't want nobody to think that they just chalking it up and trying to wait till next year and going to do this or going to do that. No, we're trying to do everything we can to win this game, the next game, the next game. Like, we want to win every game we have on the schedule to give us the opportunity to have an extra game. So you'll see what's due and necessary for us to go out and try to win this game.
All right. Can we anticipate that Ricky will be the starter on Friday?
Shit, it depends how he practice today. I mean, it's really hard. Like, I can't do that no more. Like, I love Ricky, man. Ricky's a little brother to me. But Ricky had a month straight of me sticking by him and doing everything the right way and being more than supportive of him. And I'm very, very supportive of every one of my players. Everything that happened here bad is on Coach Frando, right? I told some of the coaches, I said, I feel that we should have catered to him a little bit more. But he had a month of running the program. We were 3-1. Then under Steve's time, and then under Ricky's time, we went 0-4. So you got to open that competition up and make sure that you're giving an opportunity for us to go out and be able to win. We got 4 more, so I'm hoping with this time we could switch it around and go 4-0, right? So we just gotta do what's best for the S, and I promise I'm gonna make sure that I do.
That's the head coach of the Orange, Fran Brown. And Mike, reacting to that, I just felt like he said all of the right things there, right? Everything you would want to hear. The biggest thing was, look, they gave Ricky a shot, right? This wasn't a week or two, let's make a sudden change. No. He had the keys of the program for 4 games, 5 weeks with the bye week included, right? And it just wasn't what it needed to be. And Fran's going to do anything that he can to win. And he always said the Block S comes first. And it feels like this is a decision that reflects that.
We knew that he's willing to do whatever he can for Syracuse to win when he released the depth chart for the season opener, and a true freshman was starting over a veteran leader, potential captain in Derek McDonald, with Antoine Delorier starting in his place. That told me all I needed to know about who Fran Brown is, his commitment to winning and putting the best players out on the field. So I have no doubt that in evaluating this, he knew that they had to do something. And when I first heard him say it won't just be Ricky, I was thinking, okay, Ricky could start, and then you'll see some packages for Luke Carney to take advantage of his running ability and some other things off of it. I know there was some buzz about Filardi. I just was more surprised that he's getting the start, and it's not start Ricky Collins, see how he does, throw Carney out there for a little bit for a couple of series. If that doesn't work, then maybe go to Filardi. The fact that they're going to Filardi right away as the starter, a little bit of a surprise, but very intrigued to see how this all plays out today, and including, do they still have packages for a Luke Carney with Joe Filardi out there? We don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see how they handle this.
Yeah, me too. Well, you have the wide receiver room to support a first-time starting quarterback.
Pretty good one,
right? No question. Who do you think plays the biggest role in him being able to lean on? I actually think it might be a guy like Jonte Cook because of his positioning in the slot, that short intermediate game, and finding early success to build the confidence.
The easiest window for a new quarterback without a lot of experience to look through is what's right in front of you, right? So to your point, that's where the slot receiver comes in, and some of those slants that we saw where he was open and the ball wasn't put in the right spot, or it was late. If he can correct some of those things, that's going to be a big boost to the offense. And then I know, we kind of talked about maybe go crazy and throw a go route right at the start, whatever, but they've got an opportunity, I think, whenever you see a Darryl Gill or a Justice Ross Simmons one-on-one down the field, it's to trust those guys to make a play and throw it up for them and give them a chance. And so I think all 3 of them can play a role there, but certainly I think Jonte Cook's role is one that makes the most sense because of where he's going to be positioned. And then I don't want to discount Dan Villari as a potential option here too. because there were multiple opportunities when watching the games where I saw Villari was open, and it didn't seem like he and Ricky Collins were on the same page. He didn't seem to look for Villari all that often, and so you've heard the old adage that a tight end can be a quarterback's best friend. You wonder if he'll rely on the tight end and get Dan Villari more involved in the passing game as well.
Perhaps we'll see it. We're up against the break here. Come hang out with us at Shaughnessy's Irish Pub at the Marriott downtown Syracuse. For $12, you can park the car, eat at the buffet, get shuttled up to the Dome and back, all for $12. So this is certainly the place to be. We're back after the break, getting you ready for Syracuse and North Carolina in the Dome. 7:30 kickoff. We'll have you covered all the way up until then. You're listening to Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse.
Point Guard Advisors and Burdick Ford are proud supporters of Game Day radio coverage of Syracuse football. We are the pulse of the orange. ESPN Radio 97.7 and 100.1.
Boom Boom Mex will be saying adios. Second year as Boom Boom Italiano. That's right. Same fun, same large portions, and bold new
just
flavors
looking at the chat, seeing
Get ready to feast
there.
with house-made sauces, shrimp scampi, chicken riggies, fresh homemade chicken cutlets.
What are we thinking about Joe Filardi, everybody?
To love. Corner of Howlett Hill and Cornwall Welch and Camillus, and on Facebook. Boom Boom Italiano. Ciao bella.
Impressive from all angles, the exterior of the BMW X330 X-Drive exudes presence and power. Expansive surfaces and dramatic curves combine to form its monolithic proportions. Burdick BMW has a huge selection of inventory, with much more to come. Stop in and lease the 2026 BMW X330 X-Drive at Burdick BMW for only $599 per month for 39 months, with $51.29 due at signing. Cash down includes $36.05 down payment, $599 first month's payment, $925 acquisition fee, and $0 security deposit. Not all customers qualify for security deposit waiver. Tax, title, license, registration, and dealer fees are additional fees due at signing. MSRP $54,725. 10,000 miles per year. 25 cents per mile thereafter. Lessee responsible for excess wear and tear. For qualified lessees through BMW Financial Services with a minimum credit score of 700.
They're saying
Offer valid
ads,
through
guys,
October
if anyone could
31st,
hear in the
2025. Reserve yours today at Burdick BMW, your performance and luxury headquarters at Drivers Village in Cicero, or online at burdickbmw.com.
Yeah, Matt, if you can hear us,
Auto
let's sit
Spa.
there,
It's in the name, folks.
hearing
Auto
the ads.
Spa. Will and his family want to make sure your vehicle
I'm
receives
excited
the
to get up there
premier
and watch,
treatment it
though.
needs to be right.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, like, I like going to games regardless. The first time I had season tickets to Syracuse football was during the Greg Robinson era.
I think that's good,
I mean, I don't hear it, Matt,
Yeah,
so it
thank
should be
you.
good. I went to like every home game of the Greg Robinson era, and I was one of those idiots that stayed when it's 52-10 and all the backups are in and there's 12 people in the stands. I was one of the 12.
There you go.
You know, I like going to games. I like watching live sports.
I've always been the same way. I don't leave the game early.
Yeah.
Can't miss a snap.
So, you know, I've been there, and I remember going to those games, and like, you're excited to go watch a game, but at the same time you're like, man, Syracuse stinks. They got no shot in this game.
Sure.
And you knew that going in. And not to say that this was not the same thing, in that you didn't feel like Syracuse as a team and as a program was in the same spot, but it did feel a little hopeless as far as what Syracuse is and what they could be. And you're hoping that Filardi can inject some life into him offensively. It really feels like that's the biggest missing piece right now for them being a competitive football team.
Yeah. Man, I hope he goes out there and cooks. That'd be fun to watch.
A win would be fun to watch.
That sure
Yes, it would, Jim.
Yes, it would.
That's our awesome engineer, Jim.
He is speaking truth. You'd take a 3-0 win if you can get it. You know, that would be better than a 41-42 loss.
Yeah,
but
although, yeah, I guess it would be. That would be a really boring football game, though.
It would be, unless you really love watching defense.
Yeah, you gotta be next. You gotta be psycho to like that.
That's next level. Enjoy watching defense.
Although I do love a good pitcher's duel, 1-0 baseball game, in and out.
Yeah, those can be fun.
Especially
it's
as a
different though
broadcaster.
watching a pitcher's duel than it is to watching a defensive battle in football.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like you're watching the same masterclass.
No,
like the offense must be like inept in order for that to happen in football.
One of my favorite times watching defense, though, was last year's Super Bowl.
ESPN 97.7 and
I enjoyed that defensive
100.1.
performance.
Watch live on QSportsTalk.com. This is the RomanoCars.com pregame show, live from Shaughnessy's in the Marriott Syracuse downtown.
Syracuse and North Carolina on Halloween night in the Dome. Welcome into Shaughnessy's Irish Pub. Giovanni Heater alongside Mike McAllister at 247 Sports with you as we get you set up and ready. And the crowd is quite on filing in here at Shaughnessy's.
Mario and Luigi just came in.
We got people decked out head to toe in costumes. Everyone, of course, decked out in their orange and blue Cuse gear as well. I've yet to see a Carolina fan, which is a good sign. And looking like it might be a good crowd up at the Dome if all these people are taking that shuttle up there after they get their buffet in them.
Absolutely. You hope it is. And the benefit to the weather is that if you were kind of on the fence, do we go trick-or-treating? Do we stay at home and hand out candy? Do we go up to the Dome? If the quarterback change gets you excited, the weather could partially make that decision for you as well. I think it's a fun time. Get up there to the Dome, support the new quarterback. Hope Syracuse gets a big win. They've got multiple four-star prospects sitting in the stands as well, so you can make an impact from a recruiting perspective in addition to the impact you can have on the game.
All right, well, since we have a 3-hour show to jam-pack and fill, we might as well have a little bit of fun here on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse. It's the RomanoCars.com pregame show, and I got official word right now coming in. More breaking news, I guess. According to our own Tim Leonard of Q Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse, Michael Jordan is in the Dome tonight to see this game between Syracuse and North Carolina. Obviously, North Carolina Tar Heel legend, greatest basketball player to walk the earth. I'll buy on that
sports
hill.
idol when I was growing up.
Yeah, and apparently he's in the Dome, so that's something. This is a guy, by the way, who, with all the musicians and whatnot, has a picture up on the concourse of the Dome because he played a game here in the preseason or something like that against the Knicks, and they have a Michael Jordan Bulls picture up in the Dome. That's how iconic Michael Jordan is.
The only game I ever saw Michael Jordan play live was here at the Dome.
Was it the Dome?
Yeah, they played against the New Jersey Nets because at the time they did a thing where they'd have an NBA team that had a former Syracuse player on the roster, and that New Jersey Nets team had Derek Coleman on it. I can't remember whether they had someone else on the roster as well, like Raphael Addison in the later stage of his career or not.
Okay.
But Derek Coleman was on the Nets roster. They were a playoff team. And then, of course, the Bulls had Michael Jordan. And one of the things you admire most about Jordan is when he would come to a game like that, it's an exhibition game, doesn't mean anything. And he said he would go out and play all out in every game that he played in because he said, you never know who it's going to be the first and only chance to see me play live. And he wanted to give them a show. And as a Michael Jordan fan, I certainly appreciated that he took that perspective in that type of a game.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So that was cool. That's interesting.
That is a really cool thing.
I'm sure they're going to show him on the broadcast just as much, if not more, than a Taylor Swift would appear in a Chiefs broadcast. But let's go ahead and have our fun segment we were talking about, Mike. Let's go ahead and talk ACC teams, compare them to scary movies or scary movie franchises. I think this could be a fun exercise. When you look at the ACC, how do you compare them to different scary movies and whatnot? I'll start for you. I'll start for you. I think Clemson would have to be Michael Myers. The big, bad, you're scared of them. At least when I was growing up, that's how it was. And you probably have a different perspective of the ACC. But Syracuse wasn't in the ACC when you were growing up.
Right.
But I think Clemson is the Michael Myers, the Halloween of the ACC.
I'm going to say, I would have went with Jekyll and Hyde for them. But I almost wonder if that applies more to Florida State, especially this year.
Yeah.
Right? Because you think about how Florida State started the year with that win against Alabama. They vaulted into the top 10 nationally, and everyone thought Florida State was back. And they have really completely flipped the script on that. I think they've lost, 9 straight ACC games or something like that. They've just been terrible since that early huge monster win. So I'm thinking Jekyll and Hyde there. And The other one I keep thinking about with Miami is Frankenstein, because it feels like Miami's been, we know what they were at one time, right? With the U and what they were in the 90s and even the early 2000s and winning national championships and all of this NFL talent. And then they kind of took a step back and they were kind of a meddling team that had some hype but never really quite lived up to it. And the last couple of years, they've sort of started to get back to that. So have you wakened the beast, so to speak, and Frankenstein is now alive and terrorizing the rest of the ACC.
Okay. All right. I like it. I think when it comes to the ACC, maybe football isn't associated quite as strongly, but I think a team like North Carolina would be like a Dracula. The Flash, right? He's kind of the main character of it all, right? The straw that stirs the drink, if you will. That's kind of how North Carolina comes off to me, particularly with the Flash part of it. That's what you get with the Carolina blue and the Jordan logo and everything like that.
And Dracula was old, and Bill Belichick is old. There's that parallel too. So, but yeah, that's a good one. I wonder if you could kind of combine North Carolina and Duke into that from a basketball standpoint, especially. They certainly are the foundation of the conference. There's no question about that. In the state of North Carolina as a whole, too, right? With Wake Forest and NC State and all those teams that are in the state of North Carolina. So I think that's a pretty good one. I'm trying to think if there's someone that I can equate to like Scream.
Yeah, I love those movies.
I guess if you're Syracuse, maybe that's Pittsburgh, because like they just keep coming back, right? And you just seems like every time you think you got them dead, that they just come back and there's another one.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a little parallel to me but that's very specific to Pittsburgh. From a Syracuse perspective as opposed to maybe overall.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, is there one we can relate to, like Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, right? Like, who else is of that echelon? Maybe like Louisville's, like a Freddy Krueger.
So that was the whole, like, maybe that applies better to Pittsburgh for Syracuse, because it's like he's in your dream, so it's like it's in your head.
Yeah.
And Syracuse is
they all always come back, right? That's why there's like 8 movies for all of these franchises.
Yeah, because I think they're on like Scream 97 or something that's coming out next year. And of course I'll go see it again because I'm a sucker. My brother and I, we saw those movies growing up, and when the Scream 6, I think it was, came out, we went, or 5 or 6, whichever it was, we went and saw that in the theater for like nostalgia stake. So I wonder if we'll do the same thing for 7.
Should.
But yeah, I mean, I think the Freddy Krueger parallel, because it's like, that's sort of like a mental thing. Like he lives in your dreams, right? He's trying to get you in your dreams. So there's like the mental thing of like which teams are in your head and you just can't sort of get over that mental hurdle with. I feel like that could be a different team depending on which team you're focused on. Like for Syracuse, it might be Pittsburgh. For Miami this year, it might be Louisville, because Louisville came and upset them unexpectedly down in Coral Gables. I think depending on what team you're a fan of, that parallel may change.
Yeah. Well, this was a fun segment. Again, we got 3 hours to fill, so we're trying to be creative here.
Right.
No question about it. We're getting you set and ready for North Carolina and Syracuse up in the Dome. We promise we're going to talk football on the other end of this break. He's Mike McAllister. I'm Giovanni Heater. You're listening to Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse.
WTLA North Syracuse, WSGO Oswego, W249BC Mattydale, W261AC Oswego, WTKWHD2 Bridgeport, ESPN Radio.
When it comes to buying the right CBD product, there's a lot that's left to wonder.
Is it safe? Will it work? I'm wondering a lot.
The bud tenders at Leafy Wonders can help.
I wonder how they do it.
We're a licensed New York State dispensary, and we can take the wonder out of choosing the right product. We handpick the best quality. Products that are safe.
With Leafy Wonders, I can wonder about other things.
Experience the wonders. Just off 481 on South 1st Street in Fulton. Online at leafywonders.com.
Great news! Bagelicious is now on DoorDash. Hello, everyone. It's Jenny Bagels from Bagelicious.
Can't get to us early in the morning? No problem. We've got you covered. It's cold and snowing outside? No problem. We've got you covered. You can now get Bagelicious delivered at home or in the office. Check out our full menu, available 24/7 at BageliciousBagels.com. Order your favorites delivered by DoorDash and bite the bagel at BageliciousBagels.com.
Is your exotic or specialty car losing that showroom shine? At Upstate Imports, we do more than just service and repair. We bring vehicles back to life with expert detailing, ceramic coating, and paint correction. Feel the pride of driving a car that looks as good as it performs. Have your vehicle expertly detailed at our Baldwinsville location. Visit upstateimports.com today and let your car shine bright again.
Time is almost up.
What's up, chat?
Don't miss the final days and final deals of Trucktober at McGuire. Sales have been outstanding because the savings have been incredible. But these are the final days, so hurry. McGuire has thousands of new and pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs ready for immediate delivery. Which one will you drive home? Now's your chance to shop one of the largest inventories in New York State and get incredible Trucktober prices. Plus, McGuire will beat any advertised price by any dealer in upstate New York.
Say hi to Grandma and Grandpa.
They'll pay you $5,000, and the car is free. Yes, that's right. 5 G's and the keys. Get to your nearest McGuire dealership now and shop our biggest sale of the year before it's too late. Trucktober. You'll find us in Ithaca, Trumansburg, Watkins Glen, Syracuse, Baldwinsville, Canandaigua, Grand Island, and Seneca Falls. McGuireCars.com. Let's go and see. Conditions amounts.
Hey Syracuse, this is Dan from the Wildcat Sports Building Camillus, and we are pumped up for the 2025 football season. With 20 TVs, including 2 massive 200-inch video walls, you'll never miss a single one. Hosting at home? Let the Wildcat cater your party. Pizza, wings,
Mike's got
sub-platters,
fans, guys. Mike's got fans. That's so weird to me.
You guys are so popular tonight. That's like your 80th photo.
Catch every game in style at the
Mike's
Wildcat
got
Sports Bar, where the food is as good as the action.
I appreciate it, but it's still odd to me that people want my picture.
It's JJ Starling. We're the home court of
You're a celebrity
when it comes to finding your next vehicle. Start at RomanoCars.com, the best dealership website out there. Why is it so awesome? Because Mike and Joe Romano went all out to give their hometown customers a fast, convenient, and friendly shopping experience. Unlike so many dealerships right now, the brothers have kept the Romano dealerships truly local, and they're accountable to you, their community members. So you'll find things like up-to-date inventory, the latest offers in inventory, even financing and lease calculators, all at your fingertips. The other advantage you have is the Romano team of internet specialists. These are real, local people with real answers about vehicles that catch your eye online. No AI. That's why only the Romanos have their real people contact. You talk to a human, not a bot, when you chat, text, or call their dealership. So if you're searching for your next vehicle, there's only one website to know. Head to RomanoCars.com and then tell them JJ Starling sent you.
Watch your favorite ESPN Syracuse sports talk shows on CuseSportsTalk.com.
I gotta pull it up.
This is the RomanoCars.com pregame show, live from Shaughnessy's in the Marriott Syracuse downtown.
Welcome back inside Shaughnessy's Irish Pub. It's a game day. Happy Friday, everybody, and happy Halloween as Syracuse is set and ready to take on North Carolina inside the Dome. Bill Belichick and Fran Brown. Storylines tonight galore as Syracuse is making a change at its starting quarterback position, going with the true freshman lacrosse player in Joe Filardi under center instead of Ricky Collins. I'm Giovanni Heater. He's Mike McAllister. We're here and ready to unpack it all for you. And with that, it's time for our Krause Hospital injury report. Mike, as we take a look at the latest news on the injury front for both Syracuse and North Carolina, what is it, starting with the Tar Heels, that might stand out to you?
Nothing too crazy on there. It doesn't look like they have a ton, especially offensively, from guys that are going to be major contributors. None of their running backs, none of their quarterbacks are on there. None of their wide receivers. They got a couple of tight ends. But they seem to be pretty healthy. They've only got a few guys on there. Syracuse, on the other hand, we know some of the guys that are out for the season, right? The Derek McDonalds and the Steve Angelis and the Tyshawn Russells. But a new name that popped up this week was Josh Miller, who had filled in at center last week for the injured Austin Collins. And he popped up on the injury report on Wednesday or Thursday as he was going to be out. And then Austin Collins was listed as questionable in that initial injury report. But Austin Collins is not on this latest injury report listed as out, which means he's going to give it a go today, which is certainly big news for Syracuse because Collins is your starting center, so it's good to have him back, but his primary backup was Josh Miller, who was out. And so if you weren't going to have your backup available, that means you're going to your third string center, which is obviously never what you're looking for from a continuity along the offensive line standpoint.
Yeah, never not looking for that, right? No question about it. It's also time with our injury report to talk our Upstate Imports starting lineups here, Mike. And, well, the big one is obvious, the fact that you're making a change at quarterback if you're Syracuse and you're going with Joe Filardi, the true freshman, instead of redshirt sophomore quarterback Ricky Collins, who has had the start throughout each of the last 4 games for the Orange that has resulted in 4 consecutive losses. What else stands out to you when you look at the depth chart for Syracuse? Doesn't feel like we've seen a lot of change, but with injuries on the front, there's some guys that have had to step up.
Yeah, nothing crazy there, but I think the main thing with the quarterback position is even with the injury at quarterback with Steve Angeli and everything else, when you looked at the rest of the offense, the other 10 starters, you still felt pretty good about who those guys were, how good they are, how they could potentially be playing. But without the quarterback position, it's sort of the poor play at quarterback almost negates how good the rest of the team is because you don't see the wide receivers having as much production, and then teams are altering how they're defending Syracuse. They're bringing more players into the box to try to take away Syracuse's rushing attack because they didn't respect what Syracuse could do from a passing perspective. If you can get teams back to respecting Syracuse's passing game, that should hopefully open things up for Yacine Willis, Will Nixon, and the rest of the rushing attack.
Yeah, absolutely. Who do you think you need to really lean on if you're Syracuse heading into this game? Is it the wide receiver room? Is it the running backs to try and prop up this freshman quarterback for success?
You know, obviously you say that running game is a huge help to an inexperienced quarterback, but given what we've seen from the Syracuse offense the last 4 games, if I'm Bill Belichick in North Carolina coming in here, my first thing is I'm going to stop that rushing attack, and I want to see Syracuse's passing game prove to me that it can beat me before I'm willing to take guys out of the box and give better numbers for that rushing attack. So if you're, from a Syracuse perspective, if you're trying to help out this young quarterback in his first start, I think those wide receivers, your tight ends, some quick throws, some wide receiver screens, things like that can really help get him some confidence and hopefully get you moving down the field, and then you can sort of build off of that and expand the rest of the playbook as you go.
You know, an excellent point that I just saw come up in the chat is the fact that Syracuse is playing in a game, right, that has Paul Carcaterra on the sideline as the sideline reporter for ESPN. And Paul Carcaterra, big lacrosse guy. You got a lacrosse player starting at quarterback if you're the Cuse, so you might see some extra Cuse lax talk here tonight.
Never a bad thing, especially when you got a lacrosse player starting at quarterback. I'm sure that's probably going to be mentioned 500 times in the broadcast today. So I'm kind of glad that I'm going to be in the stadium and don't have to listen to the same thing being brought up a million times. And I can just, in my head, remind myself that quarterback out there is a pretty darn good lacrosse player as well.
Why do you think it is that they're going with Filardi? It's not Jakari Williams. It's not Luke Carney. And with that being said, it's not Ricky Collins.
I think why it's not Ricky Collins is kind of self-explanatory.
Sure.
So we'll go with the other guys. When they wanted to make a change from Ricky Collins and they needed a spark against Pittsburgh, they threw out a true freshman who Fran Brown admitted doesn't know a ton of the playbook right now. They don't feel like can run a bulk of the offense. That's the guy that they went to. And they never went to Jakari Williams. Now you're making a change from the starter. That was just a couple of series, right? Now you're making a change of the starter and you're going to a different true freshman and still not even really considering Jakari Williams. That tells me that he's really has not been under consideration for someone they feel like they can throw out there and run the offense and win games with. So that tells me, I think, all I need to know about what they see from him in practice. The fact that Franz said what he did about Luke Carney and where he is in terms of what he can run in the offense, the fact that he said that he doesn't know much is, I think, why you're going to someone else as the starter at this point when you've decided it's time to move on from Ricky Collins.
We've talked about it a little bit, touched on it last week before the Georgia Tech game, but on the front of starting lineups, there's been a shift defensively. You've seen Barry Buxton III, who we're actually going to talk to in hour number 3 and catch up with before the game against Carolina in the Dome coming up at 7:30. You've seen Barry Buxton III and also Devin Grant play a whole lot of linebacker. Why do you think that is, and how has it helped the defensive unit see some more success, particularly against Pittsburgh, a unit that amassed 12 tackles for loss and 7 sacks in the ballgame?
They have a really athletic quarterback who can really hurt you with his legs, and we saw it on their very first possession. After Collins throws the interception, Syracuse got Pittsburgh into a 3rd and long, and Pittsburgh's quarterback scrambles 38 yards, 36 yards for a touchdown. And it's about putting guys that are quicker, faster, a little bit more experienced in that role, a little bit more athletic, so that when you have these quarterbacks that can hurt you with their legs, you have more speed at the positions that are really needed to spy him and to take away running lanes and all of those things. So I really think it was about increasing team speed, increasing the athleticism of the front 7, and trying to combat something that's been an issue for them, which is scrambling quarterbacks, extending and making plays with their legs. And it worked really well against Pittsburgh. Not so much against Georgia Tech, but I don't think that was as much about Haynes King killing you with his legs. He really hurt you through the air. That was really where he killed you. So I still think that move helped them keep Haynes King from a running perspective at bay a little bit. And you're hoping that, again, it can do the same with Gio Lopez today.
For those that don't know, hour number 3 going to be right here on Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse. No trip to the quad today from Mike. No Stephen Fonte from the quad. Steve's actually going to call in, chat with us for about 10-15 minutes in hour number 3. But due to the crazy weather outside, you got 30-plus mile-an-hour winds. You got the rain coming down. Ended up canceling the quad show. And we're going to keep you right here at Shaughnessy's, which I can't turn around the camera and show you, but just trust us. I mean, it's a packed bar right now.
It sure is.
I mean, this is beautiful. This is exactly
the busiest we've seen, I think, since we've been here.
Yeah, maybe outside of week 1 or 2. So this is good stuff. This is awesome to see. Appreciate everybody coming out. Seems like they're enjoying the buffet. Still not too late for you to come on out and catch the $12 shuttle. You get the buffet included, free parking, all for $12, and you can head right on up to the Dome from here. And they do that for every home game throughout the 2025 season. You got one left after this, Boston College, right?
Yeah, Boston College is the last game of the season, at least the last home game of the season. Last opportunity to win a game in front of your home crowd.
We're going to be at Harvey's Garden for the Notre Dame game. That's where we will do the pregame show, the watch party, the whole 9. That'll be at Harvey's Garden. So we'll have one more trip to Shaughnessy's. We'll have Harvey's Garden. And I don't think we're doing anything for Miami. I think we're just enjoying that from the studio.
Yeah, I won't be here for the Miami pregame show. I will actually be out of town at a Boy Scouts thing with my son. So, but yeah, that's going to be an interesting game. I'm curious, depending on how Filardi looks today, that could change your perspective on how you think that game could go. Do you feel like Syracuse has a puncher's chance if Filardi shows some flashes today, or do you still feel like they're extremely overmatched? I think we'll know the answer to that by the time this game is over.
Yeah, that was my question to you. Like, can this season be salvaged if all of a sudden you have some high-level quarterback play?
Yeah, I mean, nothing is impossible in sports, right? We saw a Louisville team that, listen, I think they're good. I think they're a solid team, but I don't think they're heads and shoulders above Syracuse from a talent perspective when you look at the roster as a whole. And if Syracuse had Angeli, I'd feel like they had a puncher's chance going into that game. So if you can get some competent quarterback play today, then maybe you feel like, again, you've got a puncher's chance. The team you beat last year and you're going to have that game against Notre Dame as well. And I get how good Notre Dame is and how talented they are, but they've been beaten a couple of times this year. So nothing is impossible in sports. I've seen far worse teams than this Syracuse team that has beaten teams as good or better than this teams that are on the schedule in the past. We'll see how it plays out, but it starts with getting better quarterback play today.
All right, don't go anywhere. When we return, Mike is going to make his final picks with our Liverpool Pool and Spa Dream outcome of the game. So we're going to hear from Mike one last time, get his final thoughts on the matchup between Syracuse and North Carolina. And then I'll take you through hour number 3. We're going to talk to Stephen Fonte over the phone. We got a pregame interview with Barry Buxton III. Plenty to get to in our third hour of the show, taking you all the way up to kickoff between the Heels and the Orange. For Mike McAllister, I'm Giovanni Heater. You're listening to Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse.
Did you miss Drive Time with Tim Leonard? Well, here's what you missed.
I really don't think they need to play these type of opponents and these type of games anymore. Everyone around the country is stepping up in competition. I feel like they're going to fall into the trap of what they have in recent years, where when Houston comes and it's that first big game against Houston, I think it's going to smack them in the face. And I'm kind of tired of that first big game being very underwhelming.
Drive Time with Tim Leonard, 5 to 6 on ESPN Syracuse.
Boom Boom Mex will be saying adios for now. We're closing for the season on November 22nd. But in just a few short weeks on December 7th,
can you guys hear me or can you hear the ads?
For our second year as Boom Boom Italiano. That's right. Same fun, same large portions, and bold new flavors you won't want to miss. Get ready to feast with house-made sauces, shrimp scampi, chicken riggies, fresh homemade chicken cutlets, desserts, and everything you've grown to love.
You guys got me?
Corner of Howlett Hill in Corporal Welch and Camillus, and on Facebook. Boom Boom Italiano. Ciao bella.
Impressive from all angles, the exterior of the BMW X330
Yo, Matt, can you kill the commercials for the chat?
Power, expansive surfaces, and dramatic curve.
Thank you. We can, every break you can do that. Thank you. What's up, guys? Should be good now. All right, chat. Drop some questions. Drop some stuff you want to talk about in hour number 3. We're going to have Stephen Fonte call in. Got some pre-recorded stuff. Jen wants lacrosse. Okay. I could talk lacrosse. It's a football show, but Supercat says, where's Grandma? I think only Grandpa's going up to the dome because Grandma's got to hold down the fort for Halloween. Grandma's tapped in on YouTube, though, I bet. Always is. San Diego Cuse, that would be nice. That would be nice. Supercat says, and I quote, where's Grandma? That's my only question. Mike has returned.
Right after we walked in the bathroom, like 7 people.
Really? It'll come back. Oh, you can't hear yourself?
ESPN 97.7 and 100.1.
There we go.
Watch live on CuseSportsTalk.com. It's the RomanoCars.com pregame show, live from Shaughnessy's in the Marriott Syracuse downtown.
The vibes are through the roof at Shaughnessy's Irish Pub at the Marriott downtown Syracuse. RomanoCars.com pregame show rolls on from the Cuse. Giovanni Heater alongside Mike McAllister with you, setting you up on a tee for Syracuse and North Carolina on a Friday night in the Dome. Mike, you got Halloween, you got the Dome under the lights on a Friday, like so many awesome things going into a night like this. This was one of those games that was circled on the schedule heading into the year, with Bill Belichick being the head coach at Carolina. With it being a Friday night, you knew it'd be a night game off the rip. With it being Halloween, of course, and it's finally here. Here we are. It's week 10 of college football. You believe that?
No, it's crazy. It feels like the season just started.
I know.
And you think about all the twists and turns it's had. And you're 10 games into, it's week 10. You're more than halfway through the season, 2/3 of the way or so. It's crazy that you're that far into it already, but excited to see how this plays out. And a cool thing when you've got Bill Belichick and Michael Jordan in the house for a football game.
Bill Belichick and Michael Jordan. I mean, it
doesn't get much bigger than that.
That's nuts. You got to think Michael Jordan is there to watch the Tar Heels, though, right?
I mean, maybe. What if he's a huge Fran Brown fan? You don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
I just don't understand how this is picked. How this ends up
this game of all games
on the schedule for Michael Jordan.
Now, his daughter did go to school here.
Right, I knew that.
So maybe
Christmas dated her for a time, right? Are they married?
I think they're married.
How about that?
They at least did get married. I don't know if they're. I assume they're still together, but and that could be part of it too, right? It could be like, hey, let me take my daughter back to her alma mater. My alma mater's playing them in a football game, and so maybe they're all coming together as like a family thing, right? That would be kind of a cool thing, but you would have figured, I guess, if he was going to come to the Dome for Syracuse, North Carolina, it would have been when the basketball team comes to the Dome later this year.
Well, it's a big deal if Michael Jordan, the GOAT, is in the house. All right, Mike, time for our dream outcome scenario, and it's brought to you by Liverpool Pool and Spa. Don't just dream it, live it with Liverpool Pool and Spa. Let's get your predictions, Mike. Your final thoughts before you make the trek up to the Dome yourself. You'll have to send some pictures of the crowd. What do you think about this one? How you feeling?
I feel like this is a game where Syracuse is going to play well and win, but given what I've seen from them offensively the last 4 games, it's hard to predict like some sort of explosion of 30-plus points. So I'm going to go 24-21. 21 might be too much for North Carolina the way they've been playing. We'll say 24-17. Syracuse wins. 24-17. I think Syracuse defense is going to play well for a majority of this game, and I think we'll see some spark from the offensive side. But as you mentioned, North Carolina has been really good in the red zone. Bill Belichick is a masterful defensive mind, so I think they're going to give Syracuse some problems here and there. But ultimately, I think Syracuse is a better team, and they'll get the win.
I'm going to save my final pick for the end of hour number 3, right up before kickoff. But I'm thinking along similar lines of Mike, for sure. I think of this one. So you see him getting over that 20-point threshold for the first time really since Angeli went down.
I mean, I think you have to. There's too much talent on this offense, and Jeff Nixon, I know there's been some commentary about him. Like, everyone was singing his praises after the win over Clemson, and then since then it's kind of gone the opposite way with it's like, was it really him, or was it just quarterbacks? I still think he is a fantastic offense coordinator. He's a great play caller. I just think they need someone to take advantage of the plays that are there, and I think Filardi is going to do that more so than what we've seen in the last 4 weeks.
What kind of a crowd do you think we're going to get tonight up in the JMA?
I don't know that you're going to get the level that you had against Pittsburgh or Duke, but maybe a little bit less than that. But the fact that it's a Friday night and you've got poor weather and your high school football games were primarily on the Thursday or the Saturday, not on the Friday, gives you a chance to have more of those folks to come. So maybe in the 35 to 40,000 range, and mostly full, but not quite full. I'm hopeful, maybe a little optimistic in that, but I'm hopeful that that's what we'll see.
What kind of costumes do you think we'll see up at the?
There'll be some crazy ones.
The students will go all out for that.
They will. Most of the other fans probably won't do as much. There's some other fans, like Cuse Waterboy, who's on Twitter. He's always wearing something, whether it's the Scottish kilt there. He's got that going on.
He wears a costume no matter what.
Yeah, he's always in something, right? So he could be seen in something. You'll probably have the guys that have like that orange bodysuit on. Maybe you'll have like an orange stormtrooper type of situation. My son's got his hair spray painted.
Yep.
So we'll see how it goes. I'm sure there'll be some interesting things there too.
I used to show up with a wig. Kid you not, to them SU lacrosse games way back in the day. Had the orange wig going on. My favorite that I've ever seen, it was that, remember when they played Halloween weekend against NC State, big game, ranked team in town. Ryan Finley was the quarterback. Cuse wore the all navy blue. Ended up beating them, became ranked for the first time since 2001, I think. This was back in 2018. I'll never forget that game. Dungy had a field day. Him and Ryan Finley went off for like 400 yards each through the air.
There were over 80 points scored, I think, in that game in total.
Which is so un-Dungy-like, right? And what an awesome game that was. I want to say his roommate, was it Armstrong, had the interception in that game. The memories that come back, right? Alton Robinson hits Finley off the edge, throws the weak pass, the game-sealing interception. Anyway, there was a guy in the crowd. His name's Tim Martin, legend in the CNS lacrosse family. But he was wearing an orange pumpkin head at the Dome, and it had like fangs coming out. It was like a scary pumpkin head for Halloween weekend. That's probably my favorite costume. And it was shown on TV like,
I was going to say
12 times.
I seem to, because I don't think I was at that game. I think I was watching it on television, and I seem to recall seeing that several times during the broadcast.
Yeah. So that was that.
If you've got someone with something cool like that, again, it'll be featured prominently today.
Right. Things that'll be featured prominently. Cool costumes. Jordan Hudson and Michael Jordan.
Lots of Jordans.
Lots of Jordans going on.
Lots of Jordans and lots of goats.
Yeah. Lots of Jordans going on in the Dome. How about your son? We got to give your son a round of applause. The man made the decision to not do the trick-or-treating thing tonight and say, let's go to the Dome and watch the game instead. Would you have made that choice at that age?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, me too.
I enjoyed Halloween and trick-or-treating, but I would have much preferred to go to the Dome with my dad to watch a football game or basketball game or any sporting event, to be honest with you, than trick-or-treating. I would have been all over that. And anytime my dad said you want to go to the game, I was like, I don't even care who it is. Like, let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Mike, final thoughts on this one between Cuse and Carolina before I let you go.
I'm excited to see what the new quarterback brings, hopeful that it brings a spark to the offense, and I think you're going to see a spirited performance from Syracuse football today. I think they're extra motivated to snap this losing streak.
All right, there you go. You heard it from Mike. That's your Liverpool Pool and Spa dream outcome. Don't just dream it, live it with Liverpool Pool and Spa. So Mike, he's going to head up to the Dome. I got you covered all the way up until kickoff for hour number 3. We got a lot of fun stuff coming your way. We got Stephen Fonte calling into chat right around 6:45, so don't miss it. As always, we're getting you ready on a Cuse game day. It's Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse.
Fueled by passion.
Hand off Starling, curls on the middle of the lane.
Thank
puts
you.
It in and one. Pitch it into Freeman. His shot.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
We are New York's team.
Pitch ahead, Starling. 3 ball. Yes, and one. Freeman on the breakout. Splits 2 defenders. Scores.
You video this last hour.
With the shot knocked down at 5. JJ does his thing.
Listen all season long on your home for Syracuse basketball.
Catch SU Hoops on TK99 and ESPN AM 1200.
Hiring now. The William George Agency for Children's Services is hiring today. Located in Freeville, New York, the William George Agency helps brighten future prospects and enhance opportunities for success for at-risk youth with both full-time and part-time openings, a generous benefits package, and an abundance of opportunity for growth and advancement. Start your career at the William George Agency today. Youth care specialists start at $24 an hour, and awake overnights start at $25 an hour. Apply online at WGA4children.org.
Bring it on, near or far, day or night. Burdick BMW has a huge selection of inventory on site with more to come. The BMW X5 SUV is a natural leader in so many ways. Looks, safety, technology, power, and much more. See for yourself and lease an all-new 2026 BMW X5 xDrive 40i at Burdick BMW for $949 per month for 39 months with $64.19 due at signing. Cash down includes $45.45 capitalized cost reduction, $949 first month's payment, $925 acquisition fee, and $0 security deposit. Not all customers qualify for security deposit waiver. Tax, title, license, registration, and dealer fees are additional fees due at signing. MSRP $74,675. 10,000 miles per year included. Excess mileage charged at 25 cents each day.
Could you kill the ads, please?
For excess wear and tear. For qualified lessees through BMW Financial Services with a minimum credit score of 700. Offer valid through October 31st, 2025. Burdick BMW, your performance and luxury headquarters. Reserve yours today in store at Drivers Village in Cicero or online at burdickbmw.com.
It's almost over. If you're after the biggest savings, the lowest interest rates, and the best selection, don't miss the final days of Trucktober at McGuire. See us now before it's too late to get that new vehicle for less than you thought possible. Plus, during the final days of Trucktober, McGuire will give you more for your trade than any other time all year. And it gets even better. Act now during the final days of Trucktober, and our good friends at Beginnings Credit Union will deliver their lowest interest rates of the year to save you even more. Plus, no payments for 90 days. 18 locations, 18 new car brands, and the area's best inventory make this the largest sale of the year. Get to McGuire now for your incredible Trucktober deal and low beginnings financing. Don't wait. These are the final days of Trucktober. McGuireCars.com. Following such approved with promotion qualification membership eligibility requirements apply. Interest accrual begins on date of contract. Call 800-428-8340 for details about credit costs and terms. Insured by NCUA. Offer expires 10/31/25.
Syracuse Bicycle. Ride bikes, have fun, feel good. We carry products we love, provide hospitality to our customers, and change the world by getting more people on bikes. Syracuse Bicycle is the locally owned, largest bicycle shop with passionate staff, ready to help you have fun and feel good on your new bicycle and e-bike. Test ride top brands today at Syracuse Bicycle. Not everyone can ride their bike everywhere, but everyone can ride their bike somewhere. 2540 Erie Boulevard East, or visit us at syracusebicycle.com today.
Hi everyone, it's Jenny Bagels from Bagelicious, home of the Bagelicious Dozen. That's right, 15 of our freshly baked big soft bagels. We bake them fresh every morning. We also have our world-class breakfast sandwiches or a bagel with a specialty cream.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's still. All right, chat. Can you hear me now?
Our specialists start at $24 an hour, and awake overnights start at $25 an hour. Apply online at WGA4children.org.
Hello, Syracuse Toyota drivers. Listen carefully. It doesn't matter where you bought your Toyota. Cicero, Auburn, Oneida, anywhere. We invite you to try us for service at Romano Toyota. You decide where you want service work performed. We'll treat you like a longtime customer, and that means you can schedule a complimentary loaner vehicle from our huge fleet of loaners. From routine Toyota Care maintenance and oil changes to more extensive repairs in our certified collision center, Romano Toyota does it all. You can count on very fair service prices, quick turnaround, and work performed by experienced factory-trained techs in our massive state-of-the-art facility.
Huh? Yeah, I'm still hearing radio.
Worst case, I could knock it out of your ear and just give you cues visually while listening.
I mean, Jim can just take it out of my ear. So let's just do that. All right, yeah, you can just take it out of my ear.
Mic check. All right, yeah.
And then I'll just give you cues that he says.
Perfect. All right, let's rock and roll once again. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us on Cuse Sports Talk. Now that our coverage has concluded on 97.7, 100.1 on ESPN Syracuse, let's continue to unpack this thing. Syracuse and North Carolina ready to go at it in the Dome. Friday night, we got Shaughnessy's Irish Pub absolutely jam-packed. We're looking forward to it. People decked out head to toe in Cuse gear. And now we're back and ready to roll on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, on Twitch. If you're watching on Twitch, the breaking news tonight is simple. Syracuse is making a change with its starting quarterback. Joe Filardi, the true freshman, will be the signal caller under center for Fran Brown and company. The Ricky Collins era seems like it's come to a close in Central New York. The surprising factor was that they didn't go to Luke Carney. They didn't go to Jakari Williams. No, they went with the lacrosse hybrid star in Joe Filardi, who is a 4-star recruit on the lacrosse field for Gary Gate and company. Also joined Fran Brown and the football team. And that's going to be your guy tonight for Syracuse. And I think my biggest point with this is the level of excitement to see what the kids got. You're in a situation where if you're Syracuse, you kind of have nothing to lose, it feels like, heading into this game, right? You're in a situation where if you're Syracuse, at this point, you were kind of staring a disappointing season down the barrel with the fact that Steve Angeli went out. You had lost 4 straight. Getting to a 6th win looked like an incredible uphill climb at this point with the level of competition ahead of you. Maybe there's a spark here. Maybe there's something in Joe Filardi that can reignite this team, reignite this locker room, and get everything going once again, right? And I think that could be what we see tonight out of Joe Filardi. I think the other token to that is the fact that I don't know that it gets any worse. The offensive production to this point for Syracuse football was not in a good place on the 4-game losing skid. It was a far cry from what you saw offensively out of this team against the Clemson Tigers down in Death Valley in the 4th quarter in the comeback win over UConn, of course, against Colgate. I don't know if it gets any worse. I think this is the perfect time to say, look, Friday night, we got to make a change. We got to see something, right? Got to see if there's a spark there, see if any of these guys have it. We played a clip earlier in the show, and it was Fran Brown on Cuse Sports Talk earlier this week, kind of breaking down the fact that, look, Ricky Collins had 4 weeks. He had 4 games, 5 weeks of calendar time with the bye week included to have the keys of this program and to try to get them where they needed to be. And it just wasn't there offensively. Ricky was behind the 8 ball in many facets, right? You saw Luke Carney come in against Pittsburgh. Didn't seem like there was a whole lot of faith in his arm talent. Saw him run the football a couple of times. Took him out on the 3rd down play. Ricky Collins ends up playing the rest of the game. Very bizarre situation. Just felt like you have nothing to lose if you're Syracuse. And in a way, I applaud Fran Brown and company for choosing to make this decision and choosing to go with Joe Filardi in this ball game. So that's what the Cuse are going to do. And it's going to be crucial for him to be propped up for success. It's going to have to be the offensive line first and foremost to give him some time, let him sit there in the pocket, deliver. The crazy thing is we don't know much about the kid. We know that he threw for over 3,000 yards in high school last year. Unbelievable number of 40-plus touchdowns to just 3 interceptions. You have to take it with the slightest grain of salt that it's New York State high school football. That's not a knock on anybody listening out there that has kids playing high school football. I love New York State high school football. That's what I grew up covering as a young journalist when I was in high school up at CNS High School, 15 minutes up the road. But New York high school football is not the same as some of these hotbeds like a Texas, like a Florida, like a Georgia, like even California, or many different spots around the country, the DMV, your kids out of Maryland and Virginia and things like that, the kids out of the Carolinas, just a little different. High school football in New York is not the same caliber that it is in other places where you see Syracuse get a lot of its recruits. They've gotten some really talented kids out of the Northeast, though. Steve Angeli, Jersey guy. Kyle McCord, Jersey guy. those are your two gunslinging quarterbacks that you've had in the Fran Brown era up to this point that come from the Northeast. New York and New Jersey, not exactly the same, but pretty comparable when it comes to that level of talent, right? So I think that it's a good thing that you saw him put up the numbers that he did in high school on the football field, and you feel like you can instill a little bit of confidence in that. Talked about the offensive line needs to protect him. Syracuse has done that at times this year, but then also struggled at times with that this year. So I think that's going to be very important tonight if you're Syracuse. I think the wide receivers and the receivers in general are definitely going to be super important tonight in trying to support him and get off on the right foot, right? And then I also think that the other big piece of this is going to be the defense. You got to defensively find ways to get stops, make things very difficult for Gio Lopez and this North Carolina offense. Keep that defense essentially off the field as much as possible and keep that offense on the field as much as possible. Try and dominate the time of possession and get things cooking a little bit here. Earlier this week, had the opportunity to sit down with Barry Buxton III and chat with him. Really good conversation with Barry Buxton. He's a headliner of that defense, right? Recently making the switch to linebacker, him and Devin Grant. Lots to unpack. So let's go ahead and air that for you now. Talked with Barry Buxton III earlier this week to get you set and ready for North Carolina and Syracuse in the Dome. Here's Barry Buxton. Welcome back in, Cuse fans. Giovanni Heater alongside redshirt senior defensive back Barry Buxton III. Barry, it's been quite the expedition for you, right? California guy, 2 years at Santa Barbara City College, third year here at Syracuse. Yeah. How would you describe the journey?
I'd say it's been a trek would probably be the best way to describe it. Moving further and further away from home with every stop. Finally got here to Syracuse, so I guess it's been a long time coming.
How have you seen your role here at Syracuse evolve in these 3 years with the program?
I think as I've been here, obviously there was the coaching staff change, but since I've been here with Coach Fran, there's been a lot more trust growing since he got here in the spring, and I've just been building that trust with all the coaches, building trust with them so they could trust me to do my job.
What has Fran Brown and the rest of the coaching staff meant to you?
I think it kind of just like they've put a level of confidence in me. They instilled a lot of work ethic with what he instilled here when he came here, and I think just all that together gives me a lot of confidence, and they give me a lot of confidence because they show me they trust me by putting me in certain situations that a lot of people might not succeed in.
So you said it's been a trek. You come from California. How do you end up at a place like Syracuse?
I guess it was just like random. I guess would be the best way to describe it. When I left Santa Barbara City College, I didn't play my sophomore year there. That spring before summer, they were just recruiting out there. They ended up finding me and one of my other teammates, Jacoby Seaborn. And then they both brought us both here kind of to play special teams and fill in other certain roles on the team. So when I got here in summer, I was playing a lot of special teams where I was supposed to, and then the coaching change and stuff like that.
What was it like being able to have Jacoby to lean on a little bit, coming all the way from California? Because you're across the country, right? That's got to be an adjustment for you, no?
I think that was the biggest reason I came to Syracuse, or made it the easiest thing to do. Knowing he was there, he was my roommate. We were roommates, so we were all together all summer. When we got here the same time as summer, we were together all summer, all fall, till he ended up leaving. But having him here made it a lot easier to transition. I don't think it would have been as easy to be here by myself so far from home if he wasn't here with me. Yeah.
What is it about the culture of this program right now that's allowed this team to stay together through a month that's been packed with some adversity here?
I think it's a program where what you put on tape is who you are. The coaches your name doesn't determine how much you play. It doesn't determine what you get. I think how much you play is the result of how much you work in practice, and I think you see that in a lot of the guys that are stepping up in certain positions. In practice, they put in the reps, and then during the game, you see the work that they put in.
How have some of the underclassmen on this team, particularly maybe on the defensive side of the ball, been able to lean on you and your experience as a veteran?
I think what my experience has given me is just a wealth of knowledge that I could give them. When I see things, I could let them know it. They don't have to go through the same experiences of messing up a play before they get to know it. I can also just watch them and see what they're doing wrong, so I could be another coach for them. When there's young guys that have questions, they can come to me and not go to the coach if they don't feel as comfortable. Or if I see something, I could correct them before the coach does it so they don't make the same mistake again, and they can get better and the coaches trust them more.
It's been a really strong couple of weeks for the defense, right? What's allowed this unit to tighten things up and make some big plays defensively?
I think it's just building on what we've been doing all season. Obviously, we didn't start the season as strong as we would have liked, but just continuing to build, knowing that the season is long and we got to keep growing. And I think we've continued to take those steps, making changes when we need to make changes and not being too strong-headed to get better and trust what the coaches are saying and take what they're saying to get better. And I think we put it all together and are kind of taking the steps as a whole defense and playing more complementary to each other.
So you and Devin Grant have kind of made the move to linebacker now a little bit, right? Instead of playing defensive back. What went into making that decision between you and the coaching staff, and how has your role in that really helped this defensive unit play strong the last couple of weeks here?
I think usually it's on like third downs and whenever we have certain down and distances, but I think it's just one of the things where like the coaches, they know what players they have and they trust what players they trust, and they trust me and Dev to be in those high leverage positions where we have to make a lot of decisions and communicate with people. And they trust that I'm going to know what I need to do when I need to do it. And it just gives us a different ability to play certain concepts versus the offense. It makes them a different look. It makes it harder for them to be able to do certain things. We got like 7 DBs on the field at a time, so it's like we can do different things and we can still fit the run. We can still hit because we have good size. So it's not like we're losing anything. It just gives us a different level of depth and different things we could do as a defense when we're both in there.
Halloween night in the Dome, North Carolina in town. What have you seen on tape from UNC?
Really looking at UNC, we're really trying to nail down what we have been being unsuccessful with during the season, so whatever's been beating us. So we're just trying to get better. Looking at UNC, we're just focusing on doing what we can to get better at what we were failing at earlier in the year. In the past couple of weeks is what has been hitting us for big plays, and we've been improving on those, and that'll help us when we come play at UNC.
Last one's a fun one here for you. Halloween, right? What's your favorite scary movie?
Scary movie.
Okay.
Yeah, by the Wayans brother.
Yeah.
Marlon Wayans.
Oh, yeah. Good flick. Absolutely.
Yeah,
hilarious. Yeah, no doubt. All right, wishing you the best of luck out there, Barry.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
He's Barry Buxton. I'm Giovanni Heater. We're back after this on Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse. All right, there's Barry Buxton right there. Barry Buxton, great conversation to have, right? So interesting, his story coming all the way from California all the way out to Syracuse. I mean, that's not a short trip, and to kind of take that leap of faith and at that point believing in the program, which was Dino Baber's program at that time, then stick around once Fran Brown became the head coach and everything. So very, very cool. In just a couple of minutes, we're going to have Stephen Fonte join us. He's setting up his laptop now, I'm being told, and we're going to get to chat with Stephen Fonte and chop it up with him. But in the time being, let's go ahead and take a look across the ACC, some of the other games going on this weekend, because it's another loaded week across college football. I mean, that's just been the reality of the season. It's been one unlike any other, with the teams you see in the top 10, the teams you see competing for playoff spots. Of course, Syracuse and Carolina, the Friday night game tonight. Nothing better than Friday nights on ESPN. And Anish Shroff and that crew does such a good job. Anish is a Cuse guy, so always awesome to have him in town. Saturday, noon kick between Miami and SMU. Big game when it comes to the ACC standings. SMU is 3-1 in the ACC. Miami 2-1. So huge game both ways there between Miami and SMU. Duke's going on the road to play at Clemson. That's another big one as Clemson looks to continue to try and right the ship. Chance to get back to 400. And Duke, they're 3-1 in the ACC. Opportunity to go to 4-1 and stay in the race, essentially. You also have Louisville on the road at Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech coming off the heels of a double overtime win against Cal last Friday with the same broadcast crew that you have tonight in the Cuse. And then number 16, Louisville. They're 3-1 in conference play and really starting to make a threat and a push for the ACC championship game. Notre Dame on the road at 1-7, Boston College in Chestnut Hill. Pittsburgh is on the road to take on Stanford out in Stanford, California. Number 15, Virginia. They're on the road in Berkeley to take on Cal. Not an easy trip. Cavaliers are 5.5-point favorites against the Golden Bears. Cal has had some close games as of late, some good games as of late. An overtime loss at the hands of an overtime win against North Carolina and an overtime loss at the hands of Virginia Tech. Number 8, Georgia Tech on the road at NC State. Could that be a sticky spot for the Yellow Jackets? We'll see. NC State always a rocking crowd down in Raleigh. Georgia Tech 5.5-point favorites on the road there. And then you got Wake Forest on the road at Florida State. I'll tell you what, the quick turnaround that you've seen in Winston-Salem for Wake Forest, led by Jake Dickert in his first year as the head coach, is pretty remarkable. They have one of the best defenses in the country. Top 2 in the ACC. In some stat categories, they're top 1 in the ACC when it comes to their defense. He's done a really nice job. And one thing Wake Forest can always do is hire a good head coach. This is 3 straight that they seem to have really made a nice hire. Of course, Dickert takes over for Dave Clawson, who stepped away. Wake is 5-2. They're 2-2 in ACC play. Playing a sputtering Florida State team, still looking for its first conference win of the year at 0-4 in the Atlantic Coast. So that's a really fascinating game. It's the night game on the ACC network, 7:30 prime time. Really curious to see if Wake Forest can kind of pull one out in Tallahassee, or Florida State ends up picking up its first ACC win of the year. So certainly going to have our eyes on this one. But we're getting you ready for North Carolina and Syracuse. That is, of course, the big one going on today. Looking at some of the numbers here, Syracuse 1.5-point favorites at home against North Carolina. So at that point, it's pretty much a 50-50 game in Vegas's eyes. It says that they give you 3 points, right, for being the home team. So 1.5-point spread. Cuse is favored, and that's the betting line. The over-under total is 45.5. I'm told we have Steve Infante. I'm told we have the man, the myth, the legend. So let's bring in Steve. Steve, appreciate you hopping on VMix. I know I told you on the phone, but I didn't realize we weren't going to be on the radio. So I appreciate you making it happen, man.
You're welcome. I'm hearing basketball calls right now. I'm not really hearing you. Can you hear me okay, Gio?
Oh, no. I can't hear Steve. This is terrible.
Okay.
Steve, I'm so sorry. I can't hear you.
I have you.
I don't know if this is going to work, guys. Let's see. Let me try and get Paul. We're pushing through the technical difficulties. Steve even dressed up for the occasion. It has nothing to do with his television job. It has to do with this, of course. Paul is texting in the chat. Paul is texting. He says everything is good here. Is everything good on our end, Jim? Okay, yeah. Paul, I'm told we're just not getting Steve back in return.
Can you hear me now, Gio?
Have we ever done this before where we're not using the radio? Are we trying new territory that we just... Paul is texting. Let's see. I might have to let Steve go, only because I don't know how we're going to be able to hear him. We're not getting anything back on our end, Paul. Let's see. Can the chat hear Paul, or can the chat hear Steve? Like if I called Steve and held it up like this?
I don't know. Can they hear me?
So that we could at least hear each other, and then the chat hears. Let's do that.
Can the chat hear me?
All right, they can hear Steve. All right, I'm going to call Steve.
So I can hear you perfectly. So I guess you just can't hear my responses. So
Okay, yeah. Yes, perfect.
All right. So do you want to just, do you want me to put you on speakerphone here? Why don't I do that? I'll put you on speakerphone. I'm going to mute. If I mute myself on the, no, that's not going to work. The problem is, Gio, I'm hearing the crunch game back to me. So I'm hearing you, but I'm hearing the crunch game more. So.
Okay. All right.
I think we might need to bag this.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to scrap this. I'm sorry, Steve.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Get through the rest of the segment. Why don't me and Paul try to see if we can figure something out where we can get it so that I'm not hearing the crunch game, and then we can try to have a conversation in the next segment. So let's. Why don't you just talk here for another 5 minutes or so? I'll work with Paul and see if we can figure it out.
Okay. All right. That sounds good.
All right. See you.
All right. Thanks, Steve. All right, Stephen Fonte, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, folks, we're trying to piece it all together, but definitely appreciate you hanging out with us and having a good time as we continue to get you set up and ready for North Carolina and Syracuse in the Dome. Pre-game coverage taking you all the way up until kickoff between the Tar Heels and the Orange. Let's talk a little bit about the quarterback situation on the other side for North Carolina. Gio Lopez has been the starter. Great name, by the way. Fantastic. Shout out to his parents for going with that one. But Gio Lopez, in all seriousness, has been the starting quarterback for North Carolina. Some ups, some downs, no question about it. The South Alabama transfer was strong in his time at South Alabama. You look at what he's done so far throughout his career up to this point. Last year was kind of a bigger name coming out of the portal. North Carolina was able to acquire him. Went 206 for 312 through the air last year, 66%, threw just shy of 3,000 yards, 18 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, did some damage on the ground as well, had almost 500 yards rushing on the season with 7 total touchdowns using his legs. So that was why he was, attractive in the portal. North Carolina ended up landing him. So far this year, he's gone and thrown for 60%, 805 yards through the air, 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Never in a good spot when you're throwing more interceptions than touchdowns. That's been a problem for Syracuse as well throughout times this year. He's been dynamic with his legs a bit. 51 carries, 92 yards, 2 touchdowns so far this season on the ground for Gio Lopez. That's what they're looking at quarterback. And many people have asked the question, okay, why is it that they're deciding to go with him when it feels like in a lot of ways Max Brown kind of fits the model that you'd expect a little bit more with a Bill Belichick-led team. Now, Belichick, people forget, is a defense-first coach. And I said Max Brown. I meant Max Johnson. My apologies. Max Johnson, this is a guy that has a lot of experience under his belt. Played for 2 years at LSU, played another 2 years at Texas A&M. So at LSU, 225 yards, 225 completions on 373 attempts, threw for almost 3,000 yards, 27 touchdowns, 6 interceptions in his second year at LSU. Things weren't as strong at Texas A&M, 9 touchdowns to 5 interceptions in 2023. Last year was going to be the guy for Carolina, broke his leg week 1 at Minnesota, makes his return, and they go with Gio Lopez instead. So they kind of have an option in Max Johnson if Gio Lopez were to go down. I'm told we got Steve again. Let's go to Steve. Let's test this thing out and let's see if it works. So let's go to Steve once again. Steve?
Gio, I got you. Do you hear me okay?
We're not getting anything from you. That's all right. That's all right. Steve, enjoy the game. I appreciate you trying for me, and have a good night at the Dome. Enjoy.
All right. You as well.
All right. That's Stephen Fonte. We tried. Appreciate Steve giving it his best effort. No question about it. With that, though, we got some other stuff on tap that we can share with you. Let's go ahead and start with this. We had a nice interview earlier this week that Steve actually did with one of the premier coverers of North Carolina. He's the host of Locked On North Carolina, covers the Heels down there. A lot to learn about the Heels. So let's go ahead and air that while we kind of handle some of the technical difficulties on our end. We'll have you covered all the way up until kickoff. It's Cuse Sports Talk at ESPN Syracuse. Here's that sit down from earlier this week with Locked On North Carolina.
ESPN 97.7 and 100.1. Watch
because of I preview Syracuse, North Carolina inside the Dome tomorrow night. Isaac, thanks for coming on. How are you today? Hey, fellas, I'm doing great. That was a throwback for me as well. I'm like envisioning dances in high school with that Flow Rida. That's the idea. We're doing club songs for our, Tim Leonard, his favorite club songs today. And let's talk about this Carolina team, shall we? It's obviously been we have to. It's been a very interesting year to say the least with Bill Belichick there, and we were talking yesterday about the first drive of the season, and everybody's thinking like, oh my God, like this is going to be awesome, and things have not gone according to plan for the Tar Heels. What has it been like covering Bill Belichick and his team this year?
It has been one of the more surreal experiences of my sports media life, just because of when things happen that make no sense at all in your life, and it's like just things you never imagined would align and come together, and it's like just that you would never even think of, and now all of a sudden you've got one of the most decorated football coaches of all time is coaching your college football team that you cover, and then you got to figure out what that means, and it just I think maybe I would sum it up by saying I don't think I truly realized or appreciated just what a massive impact Bill Belichick has on our society, both in and out of sports, and that has just brought all of humanity to Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
A couple of weeks ago, it seemed like Bill Belichick might not make his way to the Dome this year.
All right, I'm told I'm on. We're surging through the technical difficulties. We quite literally never had this happen before, so appreciate everybody bearing with us here as we continue to get you set and ready for North Carolina and Syracuse in the Dome. I think we can go to that video as soon as we have it. We can go to it. So just kind of waiting on the word from Paul as far as if it's a go or not. We were trying to get Steve, if you're just joining us. We had Steve Infanti. We had him on VMix. We were ready to have a great deep dive conversation, and that didn't end up working out. It's a good thing we didn't book more guests. I almost had booked more guests, and that's a good thing, because otherwise we'd really be in trouble at this point. So waiting on the word from Paul that we are a go to try and air this video one more time. It's a great interview. Again, they sat down with Locked On North Carolina and just kind of pick the brain about what to expect in this game, what to expect on the North Carolina side of things, what it's been like covering Bill Belichick and being around this team, because it's been quite the story to tell this year, no question about it. So definitely awesome. Isaac Shade is the gentleman that they had the opportunity to chat with. So as soon as we got that going from Paul, we're going to have that up for you. But again, I think Syracuse in this game, if you haven't heard yet, it's all going to come down to the quarterback play they get, because they're making a change at quarterback, starting the true freshman Joe Filardi, and that's the decision that the Cuse ended up making. So, not a bad decision. I think it's going to end up being a good thing for them. Listen, you know what you had in the Ricky Collins situation, and you have nothing to lose at this point in the year. So why not pivot? Why not try and make the change? I like it. I like the decision that was made by the coaching staff. It injects a little bit more excitement into the game, injects what could be scenario for the rest of the year, especially if he goes out and plays pretty well against a defensive unit that's been a little bit stronger in the last couple of weeks in Chapel Hill for North Carolina. So we'll see how it all ends up transpiring. Paul is typing, so Paul might be able to have that video for us. We're gonna see what he says here on the edge of our seats, and he said he's got to download the video. So I guess you guys are stuck with me for a little bit longer, as we're a half hour from kickoff. A half hour has never felt quite so long, especially when you had an interview prepped up and ready to go with Steve. But making the magic happen nevertheless. Let's talk impact players. Let's talk impact players in this one. Who could be the difference makers for Syracuse? Who could go out there and have big games and really stamp their foot on a game like this? We're in the all-orange tonight, right? They switched up the uniforms, went with the all-orange tonight. I think it starts with the offensive line. We said that, but let's go talk about the defensive line and their ability to generate pressure, make a guy like Gio Lopez for North Carolina uncomfortable. He's kind of a seasoned quarterback at this point. Started a full year at South Alabama, had experience a little bit the year before that, kind of got to stick his feet in the water, if you will. And then now he's got, at this point, 7 games of a season under his belt at UNC. I know he missed a little bit of time in one of those contests due to injury, but got some experience under his belt. You got to find a way to make him uncomfortable. Syracuse's pass rush was so effective in its game against Pittsburgh. 12 tackles for loss, 7 sacks in the game. Did a really nice job in making their true freshman quarterback feel the presence of the defense, right? I think you need more of that. So when you look at Syracuse, I think you look at the young guys in the pass rush. How about Jamie Tremble, right, who's done a really nice job at linebacker, ended up with a sack in that game. I think you can also look at Kevin Jobity, who had 3 sacks in that game against Pittsburgh. He's kind of the focal piece of this defensive line at this point. Him and Tate Wilson, I'd say, for Syracuse on its defensive front. Can the defensive backs hold their own and make things really, really difficult? I think Demetrius Samuel Jr. has been unreal this year. You see him towards the top of so many different lists of how impressive he's been, and not only top corners, cover corners in the ACC, but across the entire country, grading out better than almost anybody else in the entire country, responsible for more, not necessarily pass deflections, but incomplete passes as a result of their coverage. Had 11 going into last week. That was the most of anybody in the nation, ahead of Mansour Delane at LSU, who's going to be a first-round pick this upcoming draft. So impressive stuff out of Demetrius Samuel Jr. There's been another handful of guys that have been making their presence known. Antoine Delorier, probably going to be a freshman All-American. He was a midseason freshman All-American. I don't know why that narrative would change, because he continues to just get better. And it's not just like the timely plays in the UConn game with the 2 pass deflections in overtime to win it. He's in on every play. I mean, he's crucial in the run. His one weakness maybe is dropping back in pass coverage. I think he'd be the first to tell you that. But so strong at the linebacker spot, looks the part, has the body for it. Antoine Delorier has done a fantastic job. I think a big shift in the defensive success has been moving Barry Buxton and Devin Grant down to linebacker, particularly in third down scenarios, longer yardage scenarios. Again, trying to be fast, be athletic, try and generate pressure, different things like that. I think that's been crucial for Syracuse, is having those 2 guys move to linebacker and play in that spot. In this defense for Elijah Robinson, Fran Brown, and company. I got Paul typing again. Let's see what Paul has in store for us once again. He said, I can't load it. Just got an error. Paul, we got anything? We got anything out there? Anything that we have stocked up from the week? There's got to be something queued up. Should have Tim. He always pre-records his thing with Adam Terry. He always pre-records that. We got anything with Adam Terry? Should be in there from literally playing it on the show yesterday or the day before. Still waiting on Paul's word, but trying to get you up to a kickoff. Yeah, let's go to Adam Terry. Tim Leonard and Adam Terry sat down earlier this week to get you ready for Carolina and Cuse up in the Dome.
Our weekly visit with Adam Terry here, who will be on the call on the Syracuse Sports Network from Learfield for the Friday night game, Halloween night against UNC. Adam and I will be out on the quad, and I think it's going to be very chilly out on the quad, so make sure you pack accordingly, Adam. Let's dive right into the comments that Fran Brown made on Orange Nation earlier today with Stephen Pauly that are kind of making the rounds. He was very honest about the situation at quarterback and how it is an open competition right now at the quarterback position. You got a chance to hear the comments. What was your reaction to Fran being that honest, and your take on what Fran said on Orange Nation?
Well, I think first and foremost, you have to appreciate the honesty of Fran, right? Like, he's not a guy that's going to hide behind anything, give you coach speak. You know, he's there to win. He's there to put the best product out on the field. And to me, that's where this shift starts to come is, you know, as much as you want to get one guy experience in Ricky Collins and have him go out there and be successful, you also have to manage all of the other personalities within the locker room and be able to win football games, right? Like, the objective the rest of the year is win enough games to get you into a bowl. And then that gives you 15 extra bowl practices, and you can get better. now, it seems as though the sample size and what he said, Steve, I gave Steve 4 games before the injury. He goes 3-1.
Let's go to our guest line as we drive into our second hour. It's brought to you by Burdick BMW of Cicero. We're so pleased to be joined by Isaac Shade from Locked On Tar Heels as we preview Syracuse, North Carolina inside the Dome tomorrow night. Isaac, thanks for coming on. How are you today?
Hey, fellas, I'm doing great. That was a throwback for me as well. I'm like envisioning dances in high school with that Flow Rider.
That's the idea. We're doing club songs for our, Tim Leonard, his favorite club songs today. And let's talk about this Carolina team, shall we? It's obviously been a very we have to. It's been a very interesting year to say the least with Bill Belichick there, and we were talking yesterday about the first drive of the season, and everybody's thinking like, oh my God, like this is going to be awesome, and things have not gone according to plan for the Tar Heels. What has it been like covering Bill Belichick and this team this year?
It has been one of the more surreal experiences of my sports media life, just because of when things happen that make no sense at all in your life, and it's like just things you never imagined would align and come together, and it's like just that you would never even think of, and now all of a sudden you've got one of the most decorated football coaches of all time is coaching your college football team that you cover, and then you got to figure out what that means, and it just I think maybe I would sum it up by saying I don't think I truly realized or appreciated just what a massive impact Bill Belichick has on our society, both in and out of sports, and that has just brought all of humanity to Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
A couple of weeks ago, it seemed like Bill Belichick might not make his way to the Dome this year, that there would be a new head coach here by the time the Syracuse game rolled around. That talk seems, at least where we are, it seems like it's quieted down a little bit, and I guess the question now becomes, do you think he's the head coach at the start of next season for North Carolina football?
That's exactly right. In fact, it was after that Clemson game where North Carolina just got absolutely throttled. The Tigers scored a play on the first offensive play from scrimmage, and then Carolina had an off week, and that was the week when all that noise came to fruition. And I think to answer your question, I have to address what's happened in the 2 games since then, where Carolina has been the best that they've been against any 2 high major opponents this year. Nearly beating Cal, a fumble into the end zone from the half-yard line thwarted that. By the way, you mentioned that first drive of the season. Had they scored right there at the end against Cal, it would have been the first time they had held a lead against a Power 4 opponent since that first drive of the season.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? And then last week at Virginia, obviously lost by inches going for it in overtime, going for 2 there, and just missing the pylon by a couple inches. And so I think I'm with you. At that point, during that off week after the Clemson game, I legitimately thought the way the smoke was moving, the way everything was going, it felt like that was it. Literally that week, it was like this experiment is over and done, and it will not continue on. That next Monday, Coach Belichick, game week of the Cal game, Coach Belichick, from the first word of his press availability, squashed that and said, I'm here. We are making strides. We're growing and looking and getting better. And to his credit, over the course of the last 2 games, the scoreboard in terms of wins and losses does not reflect that, but there has been a better product on the field. So 3 weeks ago, I would have answered your more direct question very differently. But today, I actually do believe that Bill Belichick will be the head coach of North Carolina in 2026. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I was going there next, by the way, about the last 2 weeks, because you look at this team, they're 2-5, 4-game losing streak. SU's on a 4-game losing streak as well, but it seems like these teams are moving in opposite directions. SU's lost 4 games in lopsided fashion. Carolina, as you mentioned, the last 2 have been really heartbreakers. You lose 2 by a combined 4 points and really could have won and maybe should have won both those games. So what has changed, Isaac, in these last 2 weeks? What has opened the door for this team to start playing better and start being more competitive?
Well, it's no shock with the Bill Belichick team that it starts on the defensive side of the football. Prior to those 2 games, Carolina had not held a Power 4 opponent under 300 total yards. That's happened each of the last 2 weeks. In fact, it's gone lower each week. Last week against Virginia averages just over 200 yards per game on the ground. them to, in regulation, under 50 yards. So, like, cut that by 3/4. And so they really stepped forward on that side of the ball. Interestingly, even despite losing their best individual defensive player, Thad Dixon, who's in the secondary, they've taken leaps forward there. The thing that has not progressed seemingly very much at all is on the other side of the football. And in that side of the game, I feel like these are two teams staring at each other like that Spider-Man meme where the Spider-Men are all pointing at each other. Right. I feel like in a major way, like that is Carolina and Cuse this week, because since Angeli's injury, Syracuse hasn't hit 20 points in a game. North Carolina has not scored 20 points against a Power 4 opponent. They've gone 14, 10, 9, 18, and 16. And so this is like, this game is like 13 to 12 or something like that, what we're looking at. So Carolina has taken minor strides forward offensively, but the bigger strides have been on the defensive side of the football.
All right, you talk about their offense, and, here there's been a lot of talk about the quarterback at Syracuse and the quarterback situation. We'll get to that in a second. But as for the quarterback situation down there in Carolina, how much of the offensive struggles around Gio Lopez, how much of it are, guys around him, right? Offensive line or skill position. How much of this falls on the shoulders of the quarterback in your mind?
I think a lot of it does. Like, yes, as you said, there's blame to go around, but I think the vast majority of it is on Gio Lopez. But then that would lead me to say, so I think then the vast majority of it, even more so, would fall on the staff for not making a change at quarterback. Max Johnson is sitting there on the sideline, a guy who has won SEC football games at both LSU and Texas A&M. He has been a nice game manager when he's been in. When Gio Lopez has been hurt, he started the Clemson game. Obviously, that didn't go very well. And then Lopez has started the last two. He has not been consistent enough with his arm. There are times he's made some throws. I'm like, man, that's a throw. But it's really hard because North Carolina is sitting there watching this young man who used to sling it all over the football field, now tearing it up for the Patriots by the name of Drake May. And it's like, it ain't even close to that. Meanwhile, one of the other things that Gio Lopez is supposed to bring to the table is the ability to be a dual threat, to be able to run. And there's not been very much of that at all, quite frankly, fellas. And so I think, yes, the vast majority of it is on Gio Lopez. And what you see is, while the skill position players, there are some guys that are going to be very good. True freshman Juju June is a great running back. Benjamin Hall is a transfer running back. He's looked really good at times. It's been interesting because one of the hallmarks of a Bill Belichick offense in New England was that Tom Brady would be throwing to wide receivers you had never heard of before that day. You're starting to see that come true as well here. But at the end of the day, I laid this at the feet of Gio Lopez, which means then even more so, I lay it at the feet of the staff for not making a quarterback change.
All right, so along those lines, Isaac, there's a lot of talk around here, especially the last 24 hours. We had Fran Brown on our show yesterday, and he made it sound like the door is open for a possible change this week for Syracuse at quarterback. He didn't commit to Ricky Collins. He didn't commit to who the starter's going to be. He did say we're going to see multiple quarterbacks in this game from a Syracuse perspective, so it sounds like they may be moving toward a change and maybe even changing starting quarterbacks. What about down there? Are you getting any sort of inkling that maybe a change is coming, or do you think they stick with Gio Lopez this week?
I believe, like, if it's me, I would have gone to Max Johnson a long time ago. I feel like this staff is all in on Gio Lopez is our quarterback. There are multiple high-level freshmen sitting on the sideline that could do it. I think they don't want to burn them. So maybe later in the season we would see them when it gets down to 4 games. But at this point, I think they're riding with Gio Lopez, good, bad, or ugly. And, because they've got another year with him. And so I think they're still trying to see, can he develop into what we need him to be as an ACC-level quarterback? And so I fully expect, yes, tomorrow night, as spooky as it's going to be on Halloween, that they're going to stick with Gio Lopez. Yes, unlike Syracuse, I expect no change.
Okay, very good. What do you think this game ultimately comes down to? You talked about the fact that both these teams have struggled miserably offensively. SU's defense has been struggling lately as well, and one of the worst in the country among Power 4 programs in terms of points allowed. What do you think this game ultimately comes down to inside the Dome tomorrow?
because both the offenses, it's true of Syracuse, it's true of North Carolina, struggled to sustain drives, to get big chunk plays, and it's just like, can we dink and dunk here and there? Because of that, what I expect is that it's going to come down to either a massive defensive play, whether it's a pick six, a scoop and score, or a special teams thing, right? Like, one of the things I wonder about with Syracuse is, will we see some tomfoolery? Will we see some trick plays because of, like, let's just see if we can get something going? We've seen a couple of times in the last couple of weeks, Carolina has gotten into some strange offensive alignments, some just weird setups, and have tried to just throw stuff out there. So is there a team that can find something? But ultimately, to me, if I had to drill down on it, I think it's going to come down to a key turnover, big play on defense, and or somebody making a play on special teams.
Yeah, that's the concern, I think, from a Syracuse perspective, is that you look at this matchup, and as you have pointed out, the North Carolina defense has been outperforming the Syracuse defense right now, and that ultimately might be what decides this game tomorrow inside the Dome. Yeah. As long as we have you, Isaac, I just want to hit you with a basketball question. Syracuse has played its two exhibition games. Just curious, what your takeaways are. I know it's just preseason right now, but what can you tell us about this Carolina team? Syracuse is going to see them twice this year.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it's both of those matchups are during a Saturday-Monday swing because of Big Monday on ESPN. Right. So that's going to be, in both of those matchups, that's going to be something for both of these teams to have to reckon with. Those two exhibition games for Syracuse, good to see them getting one against Buffalo. I love it, those games in state like that, and then Pace in the Dome. Last night, I guess it was, actually, now as I'm thinking about it. But for North Carolina, one of the things they went out and did, their struggle last year was their size, right? Like basically starting a 6'6" power forward and a 6'8" center. And then they went out and got massive. So last night in their exhibition game, they started a 6'10" player at 3, a 6'10" player at 4, and a 7-footer at 5. So North Carolina went and flipped that immediately. My biggest takeaway from Carolina's two exhibition games are twofold. Number one, Caleb Wilson is as advertised as a freshman, right? Like all of the buzz in the ACC about freshmen are going to go to Cam Boozer at Duke and to Mikael Brown Jr. at Louisville, both of whom deservedly so. They're phenomenal. But Caleb Wilson appears to me that he's going to be Carolina's leading scorer and rebounder, maybe even shot blocker as well. He's had a double-double in both exhibition games, the one up at BYU last week and last night. And then the other thing is Carolina's defense. Where, I'm still waiting to see what the offense is going to be. They have a young man from Montenegro who's not been officially cleared by the school yet. And so he's going to help offensively a lot. But Carolina's defense, because of the length and athleticism, I think can be a high-level defense and carry Carolina through any game this year.
Last question for you, Isaac, as long as we have you. You look at a lot of these lists going into the season, who's on the hot seat in the ACC. And unfortunately, both of these coaches are on the hot seat, right? Adrian Autry and Hubert Davis. How hot is Hubert Davis's seat? And I guess in your mind, what will it take for him to remain coach there this year? I mean, what does he need to show? How far do they need to go in the NCAA tournament? What do you here it looks like, if SU gets to the NCAA tournament, everybody's going to be okay. What about with Hubert Davis? That's probably not good enough there, right?
Exactly. The funny thing, the answer to your question depends on whether you ask people outside the program or inside the program. All of the temperature of the seat conversation seems to be coming outside of the athletic department rather than from within it. One of the interesting things for North Carolina this season is that Bubba Cunningham, the longtime athletic director, this is his last season. North Carolina has already hired his replacement in Steve Newmark, who has a NASCAR background with JGR, and he comes in to try to help in this NIL era and brand marketing and all that kind of stuff. So he's basically doing like a year in residence to learn collegiate athletics. So that's a factor in this whole conversation, as well as, do they want to make a move before bringing in a new AD? Do they want to give him time to evaluate as well? I'm getting no leanings from within the athletic department how they want to handle Hubert Davis. Yeah. The problem to me has been consistency, right? It's been an up and down roller coaster the first 4 years. And so I think what North Carolina needs to see from him is consistency year to year, which, as we all know, is so difficult in the transfer portal, NIL, house settlement era to find that, because it's hard to build a program. You have to build a team year to year.
Yeah.
His ability to do that this year and going forward is, I think, what ultimately determines if he stays as head coach or not.
I got one question for you, too, because it's something similar happened with Syracuse last night as it did with North Carolina. North Carolina struggled in the first half against Winston-Salem State, it looks like. How are the fans? Did the fans take away that the second half was great, or are they more worried about the first half? Because the fans here are absolutely terrified after the first half.
Well, guys, you know this. It's our profession. Everything's a dumpster fire the second anything goes wrong. So, of course, nobody paid any attention to the second half. But I did, and what I saw was North Carolina getting an opportunity for their second string to play the final 8 minutes of basketball and only allow 10 points. Right? Like, those are the things that I'm watching for. And yes, it's a D2 school. I get it and all that. But it's like I'm not concerned about that first half. There was an offensive lull. It is what it is. You move on. 3 turnovers in the second half. That tells me something about how you're paying attention to every opponent, even in the second half of a completely meaningless game against an overmatched opponent. So, yeah, I get it. All the fan base is going to be all up in arms about, oh, boy, man, that first half, I don't know. Yeah. We'll see. Let's wait till next Friday when Kansas comes to the Smith Center, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, that'll be a rude awakening, right, for everybody when Kansas comes to town. SU's got Kansas on their schedule this year as well out in Vegas. So,
that's right.
All right. Well,
Houston.
That's right. Yeah, it's a tough schedule. They go out to Vegas, and then they come home for Tennessee. And so we're going to know a lot about this Syracuse basketball team late November. It sounds like you're going to learn a lot about North Carolina right away.
That's exactly right. Yes, sir.
All right, Isaac. Great stuff. We appreciate you coming on. Thanks so much for the time.
Oh, it's a pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me. Good luck tomorrow night. Let's get spooky.
All right. Isaac Shade.
Time to officially go ahead and make our predictions and get you ready for Syracuse and North Carolina. All right, Cuse and North Carolina in the Dome, all the storylines, right? Bill Belichick in town. Joe Filardi going to be the starting quarterback for the Orange tonight against North Carolina. That was breaking news coming into the show at about 4:30 that Filardi would be under center, the true freshman who's also a dual sport athlete on the lacrosse team at Syracuse, 4-star lacrosse recruit. That was a big storyline coming into tonight. 2 teams that have each lost their last 4 games trying to right the ship. Syracuse, a team still trying to get to bowl eligibility. The games in front of them at this point, you still have to go on the road and play at Miami, have to go on the road and play at Notre Dame. You get Boston College in your house. You get North Carolina in your house. Can the Orange find a way to get to that bowl eligibility, win 2 of the final 4 games of the regular season, and earn 1 more at the end? Fran Brown said that's the mission, that's the goal. And that's really what fueled the decision to make a change at quarterback, steer away from Ricky Collins, and hand the keys to the true freshman, Joe Filardi, New York kid from the Long Island area in his own right. So it's predictions time for our Liverpool Dream Spa, Dream Outcome, brought to you by Liverpool Pool and Spas. I'm going to go Syracuse wins this one. I got faith in the true freshman quarterback. I don't think it's going to be high scoring. Both of these offenses have sputtered, have struggled. Defense has been stronger for North Carolina the last 2 weeks, kind of their calling card and keeping things close. They've been really close to winning each of the last 2 games in ACC play. Each of them combined to separate by just 4 points. So Carolina's in those games, much in part to their defense. But neither of these teams have scored more than 18 in each of the last 4 games. So North Carolina has not scored more than 18 against a power conference opponent either this year. Syracuse hasn't done it since they were on the road at Clemson, which was the 3rd week in September. So with that being said, I think Syracuse gets over the hill, and they do it because the quarterback plays an improvement. I think North Carolina does not. I'm going to say 21-17 final score. Syracuse wins it. 21-17. Cuse find a way to get it done. Really excited to see what Joe Filardi's got. I said it before, but I just feel like it's a you have nothing to lose situation, and it's something new. You knew what you were getting going into tonight if it was Ricky Collins. You probably had a good hint of what you were getting if it was Luke Carney. The guys you didn't know was what does Jakari Williams look like, and what does the new guy look like, right? And now we're going to have an opportunity to have that question answered with Joe Filardi taking the snaps, at least to start the game. Curious to see if other guys take snaps at quarterback or if Filardi gets to play every snap of the game offensively. That's another thing I'll be on the lookout for, but I have faith that with Jeff Nixon's offense being able to prop him up for success, if he truly does have some arm talent and they do feel like it's better than what they would have gotten out of Ricky Collins, I think they find a way to score 21 points and win this one 21-17. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us, especially through the technical difficulties tonight once we got off the radio and we were only on the stream and everything that went into that. Thanks to Steve for trying to hop on with us. Really appreciate him carving out the time from up at the Dome. Thanks to Mike McAllister, my broadcast partner, as always, getting you ready for the games here at Shaughnessy's. Thanks to Shaughnessy's for being a great host. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us. For everyone back in the studio, Matt Slocum, Paul McCoy, for our awesome engineer here, Jim. We appreciate him, and all you guys for hanging out with us and watching along. Thank you. Go Cuse. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll be rooting for the Orange, and we'll talk to you post-game. Be sure to check us out. That will be on the radio and on Cuse Sports Talk as well. So 97.7, 100.1 FM on the ESPN Syracuse website, or, of course, on Cuse Sports Talk, whether that's Twitch, YouTube, or CuseSportsTalk.com. You'll be able to find us there immediately following the action between North Carolina and Syracuse. So I'm Giovanni Heater saying so long from downtown Syracuse. We'll talk to you after the game. As always, it's Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse.